The story begins at a Kuyu temple. This temple has a long history of 500 years and it is quietly known as a temple for memorial service. Today, the head priest from the neighboring town visited the temple. There is a person who lives in this temple. The head priest handed over a book that documents strange phenomena to the person. The head priest asked the person to perform a memorial service for this book. He also explained that they tried to perform a memorial service at his own temple, but just reading a single page caused everyone there to die. As he mentioned that, his eyes and nose started bleeding. The person accepted his request and in exchange, pulled a sacred rope. As he did that, the head priest's head twisted and he died. This person is Reika, head priest of the Kuyu temple. All sorts of things are brought here at the temple, like a doll that's said to move on its own, or a photograph said to have captured something no human. However, most of them are fakes brought here by mistake. But today, a thick book had been brought in. Reika understood right away that this was one of the rare genuine ones. In order to perform a memorial service, it is necessary to carefully check what kind of content it holds. As she opened the book to read it, the question arose if Reika wouldn't get cursed for reading the book. The thing is, this temple possesses various wards that protect one from curses. A total of 300 protective talismans. Chrysanthemums, the flowers offered to the Buddha. 2 bodhisattva statues. And in the center, 1 Tathagate statue. On either side of the gate stands Jizo statues, and a sacred rope stretched around the temple grounds. Long ago, when they attempted to exorcise a spirit said to be the most powerful in Japan, every protective talisman was stripped away. However, the other wards escaped disaster without even a single mark. Reika mentioned that unless the curses of all Japan were to descend at once, the wards of this temple would never be broken. Now it's time to perform the memorial service for the first story. Record 1. The Giant Monster of the Mountain. An old man sat in his truck, but there were no keys in it. He went back to his home and asked a granny named Mako if she knew where the car keys were. The granny answered that she didn't know and asked the old man to check his pocket. Surprisingly, the keys were really in his pocket. At night, he asked Mako if the dinner was ready. Mako answered that they had already eaten dinner. The old man started sweating suddenly. Mako asked him if he had dementia, but the old man immediately refused. He started heading out, saying he's going for a smoke. But as he left, Mako tried telling him that he forgot cigarettes on the table. Outside, the old man was confused, looking at the mountain. He wondered if that mountain was always there. At that moment, Mako came outside, telling him that he forgot cigarettes. Ignoring cigarettes, he pointed toward the mountains and pointed out that the number of mountains had increased. Mako called his statement absurd and said that they should go to the hospital before his condition gets worse. The old man started shouting, saying he wouldn't go to the hospital and he doesn't have dementia. Right then, Mako asked him what's their son's name. The old man started thinking, unable to remember his own son's name. Seeing that, Mako said that their son's name is Keiichi. Finally, the old man realized that he really had dementia and he should go to the hospital. At that moment, he saw Mako looking toward the mountain with shocked expressions. She also said that the number of mountains have increased. Before they could make sense of that, a mountain started moving. A really big monster slowly stood up, looking toward the old couple. Mako was so scared after seeing it that she fell to her knees. But the old man didn't waste a moment. He grabbed his wife and immediately ran toward the truck. While he started the vehicle, the monster had already raised his big arm. Sitting in the vehicle, the old man panicked because he couldn't find the keys again. Mako immediately asked him to check his pockets. As the old man found the keys, the big hand was already on top of the vehicle. The next moment, it crushed the vehicle. Suddenly, the monster started crumbling until it was no more. After reading it, Reika started burning the first page as it had been laid to rest. Reika said that when you notice something unusual in a familiar landscape, it may already be too late. Saying that, Reika decided to move on to the next record. Record 2, Master of the Forest. A guide welcomes some people to the Saishu Village Wild Bird Forest Observation Tour. Miku said to them he would be their guide and show them this rich natural forest as home to many wild birds. While walking in the forest, he pointed at a rare bird. This bird is called a kingfisher. It has very beautiful colors, and it's so popular that some people join the tour just to see it. All of them looked through the magnifying glass and found the bird really cute. At one moment of the tour, they found a frog pierced by a tree branch. They asked Miku about it and he explained that this is the work of a bird called a shrike. Shrikes have the habit of impaling their prey on branches, either as winter food storage or to appeal to females. This habit of theirs is called hyony. At that moment, a granny mentioned that she couldn't seem to find her husband. Hearing that, Miku immediately turned to others and asked them to wait here as he would be going with the granny to find her husband who got separated from them at some point. Even though Miku said it with a straight face, he was worried inside. As the guide, it was his responsibility to keep everyone together. Seeing that the granny beside him was also really worried, he asked her to not worry as this forest isn't that big. They would be able to find her husband in no time. But suddenly, the granny pointed out that there are a lot of shrike birds here. Miku was confused because there aren't many shrike birds here. At that moment, when he looked at the tree branches, he saw a lot of insects impaled on tree branches. The little insects were somewhat understandable, but there's a bird as big as a cow pierced by a tree branch in the same way. Seeing that, the guide was really worried and scared. He immediately announced that they would be leaving this forest. He mentioned that a shrike is a bird about 20 centimeters long, so it's impossible for it to bring down a cow. He concluded that this was most likely the work of a human. Right then, Granny grabbed the guide and reminded that her husband was still missing. The guide ignored her and said that they would be leaving immediately. He can't risk the lives of all of them in order to find one person. With no other choice, Granny had to just follow him out. As they walked toward the exit, they saw many big animals like cats and raccoons hanging on tree branches. At that moment, Miku spotted enormous footsteps on the ground. Before he could think of anything, a figure appeared in the bushes. Granny was really happy after seeing him as he was her husband. But their expressions changed when they saw that the husband was floating. Suddenly, the husband was thrown toward a tree branch and got pierced by the tree branch. Immediately after, something grabbed a child and threw it toward the tree branch as well, ending his life. Next up, it dropped all of them to the tree branches one by one, killing them with no mercy. At that moment, a big monstrous bird was revealed, with Granny's arm in its mouth. With that, this record ended as well and has been put to rest by Reika. Reika said that if you feel something is wrong in the forest, you should leave immediately. Though by the time you notice the strangeness, it might already be too late. Reika then mentioned that while reading this tale, around 10 of the ward ended up peeling off. However, Reika didn't worry because there's still plenty of wards left. With that, Reika moved on to the next record. Record 3. Umbrella Women. Two guys were drinking together when blonde guy suddenly asked the other if he had ever heard about the Umbrella Woman. He answered no, so blonde guy started a story. He said that on a rainy day, a truly beautiful woman was walking through the rain holding an umbrella. And behind her, a man without an umbrella followed through the rain. This man had been rejected by the woman so many times. He decided that if nothing else, he would make her beautiful neck his own. He lunged at the woman with his knife. After a brief struggle, the man severed the woman's head and took it with him. Since then, the woman has wandered beneath an umbrella stained red with her own blood, searching for the man who killed her. The blonde guy also warned his friend to not run into the umbrella woman without an umbrella. If the umbrella woman sees someone without an umbrella, she severs their heads. The black shirt guy didn't worry as he always carries an umbrella with him. Hearing that, the blonde guy revealed that he would want to meet the umbrella girl at least once. When the black shirt guy asked him why he wanted to do that, he answered that he heard the rumors that the umbrella girl is really beautiful. The black shirt guy reminded him that she died by getting her head severed, so she's headless. Suddenly, they both started arguing. One called her beautiful, while the other called her headless. After wasting their time for a bit, they headed out. The whole time, the blonde guy kept saying he would meet the umbrella girl, get her number, and marry her. As they both got separated, the rain suddenly started. The black shirt guy suddenly saw a woman with an umbrella and thought that she was the umbrella woman, and also realized that he doesn't have an umbrella. Before he could get even more scared, the woman revealed herself. She wasn't the umbrella woman but Chika, Taiki's friend. She had brought an umbrella for him. The next evening, the rain was still pouring down. Both Chika and Taiki were sitting together when Taiki received a call. He picked up and learned that it was from the police. The police told him that his friend named Sato had gone missing. Taiki was really shocked after hearing the news. The police asked him if he noticed anything. Taiki told them that Sato was really drunk last night and something might have happened to him on his way home. Taiki was also about to mention the umbrella girl but decided not to. After that, Taiki got an umbrella and headed outside to find Sato. While calling his name, he spotted a woman with an umbrella. Taiki immediately became scared but quickly dispelled the thought of the umbrella woman. He shouted, asking the woman if she saw a blonde man last night. Suddenly, a fast wind hit him, forcing him to drop his umbrella. At that moment, The woman looked back, which scared Taiki so much that his eyeballs were about to pop out. This woman was missing a head and the umbrella was attached to her neck. She was holding a knife with blood all over her clothes. She swung the knife toward Taiki without wasting a moment. In the next scene, Taiki was sitting headless with his umbrella dug into his neck. With that, this record has been laid to rest as well. Reika said that on rainy days, you should always carry an umbrella to protect yourself from misfortunes far worse than the rain. The next day, Reika said that while she was reading the record of the umbrella woman yesterday, the chrysanthemums on the Buddhist altar had wilted. Reika also mentioned that they withered in an unnatural way and a big smile appeared on his face. She said that the flowers are something that eventually wither, so there's no point in worrying about them. She said that he would replace them later and decided to move on to the next record. Record 4, the peaking long hair. A man yawned and headed outside, saying going to work is such a pain. He said his goodbye, but there's no one to listen. While he was out, the drawer in his room slowly opened and some hairs started coming out. At night, when the man came home, he spotted a big hair on the floor. Picking it up, he assumed that might have gotten stuck on him on the train or something. He dropped the hair in the trash can and headed to his room. He was feeling really tired and decided to take a bath and then go to sleep. The next night when he came back home, he saw a lot of hairs on the ground. The thought that there might be a burglar or stalker. Worried, he went to his room to check his valuables. He opened the drawer just to find a lot more hair in it. He immediately jumped back in a fright and thought that someone's been here. He assumed that it was a woman. That night before going to sleep, he set up a camera in the room. While the man was sleeping peacefully, some hairs brushed past his face, waking him up immediately. He touched his face and wondered if something was there. He turned on the light just to find a lot of hairs scattered everywhere in his room. He decided to check the footage. At first, everything was normal. But then at some point, the drawer opened and a lot of hairs came out of it. The hair figure moved around the room, scattering its hairs everywhere. While the man was trembling seeing the footage, the drawer opened again. A woman with only head and hair came out of the drawer. She lunged toward the man, trapping him inside her hair. The man tried to run and shouted for help, but all in vain. The woman dragged the man inside the drawer, disappearing somewhere. With that, this record has been laid to rest as well. Reika said that where there are sins that someone has broken into the room, it may not necessarily have been the word of a human. Right then, a vase sitting in the temple fell down itself and broke. Reika said that when she was reading the record of the peaking long hair, a vase was smashed against the wall and shattered. It was the first time she had experienced such a clear spiritual disturbance. She said that a vase and such things are easily replaceable. So there's nothing to fear. With that, she decided to move on to the next record. Record 5, Honorable Death Tree. Two friends were praying in front of a really big and beautiful tree. One girl peeked at the other, thinking Yumi's boyfriend, Shingo, went missing 3 days ago. After a while, Kane was still praying, but Yumi had stopped praying. She asked Kane to stop as well, saying Shingo might be drinking somewhere and should be fine. At that moment, Yumi picked up a little tree branch from the ground. Seeing that, Kane reminded her that people say that picking up things from the shrine grounds is bad. Hearing that, Yumi asked her to not be such a stickler and also mentioned that taking a part of the sacred tree will make one's wish come true. Right then, Kane glanced at the tree and noticed a hand coming out of it. Kane was really shocked and rubbed her eyes. When she looked again, the hand was gone. Yumi called her at that moment and Kane thought that she might just be imagining things and went ahead with Yumi. At night, Kane was sitting in her living room, watching news on TV. She was worried about Yumi. Kane thought that Yumi acted tough and didn't believe in superstitions. Yet, she prayed to a sacred tree, it's proof she's being cornered. A news reporter reported that at around 5 p.m. today, the body of a woman was found on the grounds of a shrine. The body was found hanging from a tree, and the investigation is proceeding under the assumption of suicide. Also, based on the condition of the body, only a few hours had passed since death, and they are questioning local residents. Kane became really worried after hearing the news and called Yumi. Yumi picked up the phone and first revealed that thanks to the sacred tree, they found Shingo. Saying that, Yumi hung up the call before Kane could ask anything further. After that phone call, Yumi disappeared. Kane was sitting at the same spot, wondering where Yumi went. At that moment, a news reporter reported that in just a week, 5 people have gone missing in this city. All 5 were found to have ginkgo branches or leaves in their homes, and based on this, police suspect foul play and are continuing their investigation. There's also an assumption that a single predator is involved. Hearing that, Kane became really scared and worried. She mentioned that it's the grudge of the woman who hanged herself from the sacred tree. As she said that, a rope suddenly appeared in her room, which scared her even more. Outside, the bushes started shaking and hands came out of them. Kane was really scared, saying she didn't bring anything home from that tree. It turned out that without realizing it, Kane had brought back a single leaf of that tree. In the end, Kane hanged herself to the rope and expired. One day, a mother and daughter were walking on the road. They spotted a ginkgo tree and the daughter called it really pretty. An old man was standing on the doorway. He gave away the branches of the tree to the little girl. She happily accepted them and moved on. As they left, cracks appeared on the old man's head. It turned out that the old one was attached directly to the tree. Suddenly, all of the tree's branches and leaves scattered in all directions in the city. With no leaves on the tree, it was revealed how terrifying the tree really was. On its branches, some people were hanging dead. And on top of it, it had a big eye which was constantly bleeding. When the leaves touched the mother and her daughter, they both turned into leaves before they could even react. Some time later, the tree appeared at some different place. A person looked at it and wondered if this tree was always at this place. With that, the record 5 has been laid to rest as well. Reika burned the page and questioned if everyone knows the true nature of what they worship. Perhaps, without even realizing it, they may be worshipping something terrifying. Reika was sitting in her temple, saying that she was reading the record of the Honorable Death Tree. The talismans corroded and completely melted because of that. If they had just peeled off, that would be one thing, but this has never happened before. Their corroding looked just dripping blood. However, most of the talismans are still intact, so there's no need to be afraid. With that, she decided to start reading the next record. Record 6, The Calling Voice. A girl was walking to her school when she saw her friend crossing the road. Shiori, who was crossing the road, stopped mid-crossing and looked back, waving hand to her friend. Right at that moment, a truck came at fast speed and hit her, sending her crashing on the road. Unfortunately, the crash was really fatal and Shiori didn't survive. At school, the teacher announced the tragic deaths of Shiori to her classmates. She said that they would inform the students of the funeral arrangements as soon as they would be decided. Shiori's friend, who called her from behind, was also sitting at her chair and was sweating a lot, thinking that Shiori died because she called her from behind. While she was walking home, someone called her from behind. Hearing the voice, she thought Shiori called her and quickly looked back, just to find an old man standing there. The old man asked her one thing: never look back. He told her that the dead will try every trick to drag her to the other side. The girl asked him for his name, but the old man just said that he's not worth naming. In the end, he walked away, warning her to never look back no matter what. As he left, someone continuously said, "Hey," from behind, asking the girl to look back. But she kept walking, trying to ignore the voice. The next day at school, the girl was sitting, minding her own business, when someone said, "Hey." The person continuously said that word, making the girl really worried and scared. At that moment, a student touched the girl. Because of that, the girl got scared and jumped away. Everyone in the class was really startled, wondering what was going on. Yuki was on the ground with tears in her eyes, and she was really terrified. The white-haired girl, who was calling her, moved her hand and asked Yuki if she was fine. Yuki answered yes and grabbed her hand. The girl said that it's really sad that Shiori passed away. She also mentioned that Yuki and Shiori were really good friends, so it must be really hard on her. The white-haired girl supported Yuki, saying she would listen to her whenever she wanted. After school, when Shiori was walking home, she was sweating a lot, blaming herself for the death of Yuki. She thought that when Shiori died, she wasn't sad. She was only scared. She couldn't accept the fact that Shiori died because she called out to her. She sat there, digging her head in her arms, calling herself the worst. At that moment, the voices came again, continuously saying, "Hey." Yuki remembered the old man telling her to not look back and just started walking forward. But soon, Yuki couldn't hold on and angrily looked back, saying if only she hadn't called out to Shiori back then, she would have still been alive. But what she saw at that moment wasn't Shiori, but a really terrifying-looking monster. It had a lot of fingers in the place of its chest and stomach, it had no hands and a creepy face. Suddenly, the monster opened its fingers, calling to Yuki saying, "Hey." Yuki was really scared seeing that and tried to run away. While running, she tripped and fell down, giving the monster the chance to catch up to her. The monster caught Yuki, dragging her inside its stomach. A few days later, because Yuki didn't return home or come to school, the teachers assumed that she had gone missing. While walking in the hallway, two teachers were talking about this matter, saying that the decision is to not inform the students about Yuki's missing report. However, the white-haired girl coincidentally heard all that and couldn't believe it. While walking home, the white-haired girl also started feeling guilty, blaming herself for not listening to Yuki properly. At that moment, someone called her from behind, saying, "Hey." The girl thought that it was Yuki and looked back, just to see the same old man that Yuki saw. The old man tells her the same thing, "You mustn't look back. The dead will use any means to drag her to the other side." Guilt, fear, sorrow, they use those negative emotions to draw them in. That's why she must never look back. As she faced forward, we saw that the same monster was standing behind her, calling her continuously. With that, this record has been laid to rest as well. Reika burned the page and said that when a person holds on to negative emotions, that's when the distance between him and the beings of the other world begins to close. Reika asks the reader to be careful, and not to leave any opening for them to creep in. As she said that, a candle in the temple stopped burning, snapped in half and fell down. The story opens up on a beach where a girl named Yuki was reading a book. Soon, a man and a woman walked up to her, asking her to come and swim with them. Yuki immediately refused, asking them to not worry about her and go and swim themselves. Hearing that, the boy made fun of her, saying she just doesn't want to wear a swimsuit because she doesn't have curves. Yuki heard that and angrily asked him to leave her alone. At home, Yuki was standing in front of the mirror wearing minimal clothes. She looked at her body and said that Ruriko, who we saw with that man earlier, is so lucky to have such a slender waist. So the guy who was with Ruriko is Yuki's brother. She touched her stomach and assumed that the shape of her ribs was the problem. The next day at school, Yuki was standing with her friend and mentioned that the 5th period is swimming and she hates that. As she said that, her friend realized that Yuki really hates her body. She suggested that Yuki should get surgery to have her extra ribs taken out. Yuki was really shocked and couldn't believe that it was possible. After school, Yuki visited Kitamura Clinic. The doctor told her that he has removed excessive ribs a number of times. But as with other operations, they would need to conduct a mental health exam first. Yuki was confused and asked her what that was. The doctor told her that some patients aren't pleased with the results of the surgery and become very troubled, thus they don't operate on those types of patients. Learning that, Yuki left the clinic thinking that it's kind of scary so she shouldn't get surgery. While walking home, she see a woman was sitting facing the wall with her ears covered with her hands. Yuki walked up to her and asked her if something's wrong. When the woman looked at Yuki, she realized that this girl is Ruriko. Ruriki said that she wished that music would stop. Yuki heard that and asked her what music. Realizing that Yuki can't hear it, Ruriko explained that for some days, at night when it gets quiet, she hears that music. It sounds so horrible and the melody is creepy. It makes her anxious and she gets a weird feeling in her chest. At that moment, Ruriko grabbed Yuki and said that it's playing again. She asks Yuki to try to listen to it carefully. As Yuki concentrated, she also started hearing music. The next day, Yuki and Ruriko were sitting with Yuki's brother, who was holding a guitar. They told him about the strange music that Yuki could barely hear, but Ruriko could hear it clearly. Yuki's brother asked Ruriko if she's sure it wasn't the sound of his bad guitar music being carried over by the wind. Ruriko answered no, saying it's not a guitar, it sounds more melancholy. She mentioned that the same short piece gets played over and over. She said that she could hear it coming from somewhere every night. Last night, she couldn't stand it anymore and followed the sound, but couldn't. In the end, they decided to stay at Ruriko's house tonight and try hearing it. At night, they were all sitting together waiting for the music to be played. Soon, Ruriko shouted and covered her ear, saying she could hear it. However, Yuki's brother couldn't hear anything and Yuki could hear it very lightly. They all immediately walked out, trying to find the place from where that music was coming. While walking, Ruriko was covering her head, saying the sound was so awful. After a while, Yuki also started hearing it clearer, meaning they were getting nearer to the source. Soon, they reached a park and saw a lady sitting on a bench, playing the music. At this moment, Ruriko shouted loudly because now she could hear the music even more clearly. Suddenly, she shouted, asking the woman to stop playing. Hearing that, the woman turned to them. The woman stood up and left the place after just glancing at them. Yuki's brother tried to follow her, but she just disappeared. With that, he returned back to the park where the girls were standing. It turned out that the woman left behind the instrument on which she was playing the sound. Yuki's brother picked up the instrument and tried playing it. Surprisingly, it didn't sound creepy at all. He mentioned that there's no way this little thing could make sound. He pointed out that handheld instruments need something to resonate, like the body of a guitar. It's called a soundbox. This lacks one. However, they clearly saw that woman using this to make the sound, which is really weird. Suddenly, Yuki's brother noticed that the material used to make this instrument is likely a bone, a rib bone. The girls were really shocked after hearing that, wondering where it could have come from. Suddenly, Ruriko noticed something and snatched the instrument from Yuki's brother's hands. Then she broke it into many pieces and threw it away. Not long after that, Ruriko went missing. Yuki's brother told the police all about what happened before she disappeared. But they couldn't find a trace of the strange woman. And then one day, the body of a girl was discovered in the woods. Ruriko's remains were a mess. Almost all of her ribs were gone, as if they had been ripped out. Yuki's brother was really sad after that and didn't leave his room. Yuki sat in his room, confused, wondering why Ruriko's ribs were missing. And the weird woman they saw with the rib bone harp, she assumed that it's all connected. Thinking that, Yuki took out her shirt and looked at her body. She thinks that something might really be wrong with the shape of her ribs. She remembered how Ruriko had such a beautiful waist and thought that she might also become beautiful if she did something about her ribs. The next day, Yuki went to the clinic again and decided to get the surgery. First, the doctor made sure that Yuki doesn't have any psychological issues and then took her to the operating room. While she was lying on the bed, the doctor told her that this is his third time performing the surgery. The doctor said that the patient before her was Ruriko, the girl whose body was found the other day. Ruriko's operation went well, but the girl before Ruriko had a different situation. That girl didn't feel satisfied with the results. After a time, she insisted on getting an operation again. The girl had severe psychological issues that the doctor failed to notice because he was inexperienced back then. The girl came once, twice, thrice, and kept coming back until almost all of her ribs were removed. Soon, the surgery was done and Yuki came back home, looking curvy and beautiful than before. Standing in front of the mirror, Yuki remembered the doctor's words and wondered if those were just the hallucinations brought by anesthesia. She quickly forgot about that and smiled at her body. At first, everything went really well. People immediately noticed Yuki's curses and pointed out that she's looking more stylish these days. But then, Yuki also started hearing the music. She mentioned that the melody and tone are a bit different from the one that scared Ruriko so much, but it's still awful. When she couldn't handle it anymore, she went to her brother and told her, but he didn't listen to her, asking her to leave him alone. Then, Yuki went outside alone. Before she knew it, she found herself in the forest. As she walked, the sound got closer and closer. Soon, a dark figure appeared in her sight. It was the same woman that they saw before. Yuki asked her what she was doing. Without answering, she started playing the music again. Hearing that, Yuki felt something weird in her stomach. Seeing that, the woman smiled, saying that her harp is resonating with your chest. Meaning it was made from her ribs, the bone she had removed during her operation. At that moment, the woman threw the harp on the ground. But still, the music didn't stop. When Yuki asked the woman what's going on, she revealed something terrifying. She said that the reason she's still hearing the music is because her chest is playing it. So this is the woman whose ribs the doctor took out. Now whenever she breathes or moves, the wires burst against each other and make melody. Saying that, the woman revealed her chest. Her chest was really creepy. Ribs were popping out, and wires were everything. Some blood was also continuously dripped out. At that moment, the doctor also appeared there. It turned out that this whole time, the doctor was working with this woman, giving her the ribs that he takes out from his patients. Right then, the woman asked the doctor to catch that girl and put her rib bones in her body. Hearing that, Yuki started running away. But the woman and doctor started chasing her. Soon, Yuki got caught by the doctor. The woman was about to kill her, but luckily, Yuki's brother arrived there. He grabbed the weapon that the woman was holding and immediately locked the doctor in place. With no other choice, the woman immediately fled the scene. From that day on, no one ever found that woman. But one thing's for certain in this town, on quiet evenings, one can still hear that creepy music. This one shot ends here. Let's move on to the next one. This is called Tomi Takeover. A really beautiful girl walked by this man and he immediately asked her if she wanted to grab some tea with him, and the girl agreed. The man had decided to make her his woman. After going out for a while, she revealed her true character as an arrogant liar. Yet he didn't leave her because he was bewitched by her beauty. While they were walking in an empty alley, Rudo decided to go through with his plan. He grabbed Tomi's face and she asked him if he wanted her lips. At that moment, something happened which changed Rudo's expression. Rudo fell to the ground with empty eyes. Tomi looked at him and said that the takeover was a success. It turned out that Rudo had taken over Tomi's body. His mind transferred into hers, and her moved into Rudo's body. Through this method, Rudo had moved through several bodies. So the real predator is this weird creature. It loves beauty. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. If there's a body it fancy, it occupies that body. And when it gets tired, it just finds another one like a hermit crab. Those who end up in its old bodies are shocked, confused, and break down. In the worst, they go insane. It looked at Rudo's body and wondered how Tomi would react. It wanted to see this arrogant woman burst down into tears. But it was shocking to see Rudo's empty eyes. It wondered if Tomi's mind didn't transfer. However, looking at the lips, it was sure that Tomi's mind transferred to Rudo's body. The darkness in his eyes was telling it that something mysterious was in there. In the next moment, Rudo just walked away and disappeared in the crowd. The creature quickly forgot about that and started enjoying its new life as Tomi. On the weekend, she decided to doll up and go into the city to check how many men would react. As she thought, many men asked for her name and wanted to go out with her. But she only chose to go out with the rich men. Some men bought cars for her and some asked her to marry them. Soon, it started noticing that it went overboard because some men were so mad behind her that they wanted to forcefully make her their own. One man even attacked her with a knife and injured her. Seeing that the situation's becoming dangerous, it decided to change the body. However, for some reason it couldn't leave Tomi's body. In the end, she became shut in to escape from the violent men. After some time, the creature was shocked because the knife wound on Tomi's body healed really quickly and didn't even leave a scar. The creature thought that it used to be unable to stay in a body for too long. It lived with its mind hopping from one body to another. But now it's trapped in Tomi's body. It wondered if the reason it can't escape this body is because it fell in love with her. One day, it suddenly picked up a knife and started cutting Tomi's body. It felt unbearable pain but didn't stop. Soon, it had cut Tomi's leg into multiple pieces. The room was covered in blood. Tomi's one arm was gone and both legs were cut into multiple pieces. It couldn't even tell how much time has passed. Suddenly, the cut-off legs and arms suddenly started moving, growing faces and other body parts on their own. Seeing them, the creature felt that they had their own will, but its mind was inside all of them as well. It wondered if there was even a case in history where a single mind resided in several bodies. As they grow more and more, it couldn't tell if it would even stay sane with its mind in multiple bodies. With this one-shot ended as well. The story begins with a guy desperately telling someone on the phone that his wife and kids were attacked by ghosts. He also added that he knows that what he's saying doesn't make any sense. The person who he was talking to answered that she believed in him. She said that she's an exorcist who's always dealing with ghosts. At that moment, the woman was standing in the house filled with ghosts. She raised her hand and just made a fist, and immediately, all the ghosts died. Then she said that whether she fails the job or completes it, she would take the full payment. The guy agreed and the woman asked him to explain his story. He started, saying he's just an ordinary office worker. He has a wife, a son in middle school, and a daughter in elementary school. His wife was pregnant, and his family was growing well. So, they took this opportunity to move from an apartment into a bigger house. The house they moved into was on a mountain they had cleared to build a new residential area. They decided to move there since it was close to their old apartment. Around that time, strange things started happening. And first to go crazy was his daughter. Riku saw his daughter with a dark face and asked her what happened. Minami pointed at the ceiling, saying there's a man. She said that there's a man watching them. Riku looked at where she was pointing, but there was nothing there. The only thing Riku could do at that moment was comforting his scared daughter. After a few days passed, Riku's son started crashing out, saying Minami's going crazy. She keeps saying there's a woman on her ceiling. As Riku's daughter's comments kept getting worse, they took her to a children's support center to see a psychiatrist and get some advice. They were told to just observe the situation as there's nothing they can do for now. That night, Riku's wife suggested that they should move houses, but Riku disagreed. Riku just said that they should wait and see for some days. After that, they brought a charm for protection and went to a famous shrine to pray and ward off evil spirits. Still nothing changed with Minami. She was always scared, saying things like a lot of hands are on the ceiling and much more. Riku was really worried about Minami, but because he was so busy with his pregnant wife and work, he neglected her. Then one night his wife started bleeding, so he had no choice but to take her to the hospital. Riku asked his son, Ryosuke, to take care of Minami while he decided to go to the hospital with his wife. Ryusuke said that he doesn't want to stay alone with Minami because she creeped him out by saying strange things. But Riku had no choice but to leave Minami behind with Ryusuke. He asked Ryosuke to try his hardest for once. In the end, Ryosuke had no choice but to listen to his father. When the time of sleep came, Ryusuke asked Minami to go to the second floor and sleep. But Minami was scared, saying hands would grab her. Hearing that, Ryosuke shouted at her, telling her there's no one in her room and angrily asked her to go to her room. After climbing the stairs halfway, Minami kept crying, asking her brother to not leave her alone. But Ryosuke didn't listen and left her alone. At that moment, when he reached the floor, he heard something. Right then, something came down rolling from the second floor. And oh boy, it is Minami's severed head. Even though Minami should not be able to speak for obvious reasons, she moved her mouth and said to Ryusuke, "You liar, you said no one was there." Seeing the scene, Ryosuke was terrified and cried out loudly. He clinged to others to call the police as he didn't have a phone. Riku received a call from the police, while his wife was suffering through a stillbirth, that his daughter had died. Only Ryosuke knew what really happened. Neither the police nor the doctors could tell the reason for Minami's death. During the investigations, the police were attacked multiple times by unexpected accidents, so the case remained unsolved. Riku and his family weren't allowed to go in that house, so they went back to their old apartment. Even though the remaining family was alive, Ryosuke went mad. He randomly started crying, clenching his head, saying Minami was angry. When Riku tried to tell him that Minami isn't with them anymore, Ryusuke didn't agree and called him a liar. Ryusuke said that he didn't stay with Minami, that's why she wanted him dead. At night, Riku's wife cried, saying they should have moved out of that house sooner. She is now sure that there was something in the house. When Riku told her that there's nothing like ghosts, Ryusuke appeared in their room with a dark expression, which scared both of them. Ryusuke said that mom's right, there was a ghost in that house. Suddenly, Ryosuke fell to their bed, crying and saying that after Minami became a ghost, she stayed by his side. She keeps saying, "I'm coming back to our place." What Ryusuke said was hard to believe for Riku, but then a few days later, his wife was suddenly pregnant. The wife desperately said that never slept with anyone other than him, and Riku believed her. They were really afraid and quickly went to the hospital. The doctor told them that there are no signs of an ongoing pregnancy. He said that it's called a phantom pregnancy. She believes that she's pregnant, but isn't. Hearing that, she started crying, saying she felt a kick in her stomach. She asked the doctor to open her and remove what's inside. They went to multiple hospitals and all gave the same answer. Then Ryusuke came to their room and told them that Minami is the one inside her stomach. She said that she would come back, and now she's coming back. Riku tried to stop him, but Ryosuke kept saying the same thing, like Minami is coming back and this and that. At that moment, the mother shouted. The blood splattered on the bed and something came out of her stomach. It is a really creepy-looking monster. Ryusuke, who was holding a knife, called the monster Minami and asked it to not come closer. Right then, the monster jumped at Ryosuke and killed him with just one hug. Then, the monster looked toward Riku, ready to attack him. Seeing that, Riku lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he was sitting in the living room of that house where Minami died. And as he thought that everything might just be a nightmare, he heard shouts. The house was infested with ghosts who were tearing his family like toys. The inside of the house started to look completely like what Minami had described. Hands on the ceiling, women and men watching them down. Riku was so scared that he ran out of the house without realizing it. But the thing is, Riku kept running, but no matter how much he ran, he never left the bounds of that house. He also called police and hospitals, but no one could hear his voice. In the end, when he called this exorcist woman, she could hear him. While Riku was still talking to her on the phone, she was already standing in front of him. She apologized for being late and mentioned that she was busy with another job. The woman said that his story sounded similar to unnatural death incidents that she has looked into before. She then decided to explain to him his current situation. She said that it happened 5 years ago. In the apartment Riku and his family lived in, the unnatural death incidents. His wife died from something tearing through her stomach, and his son died from asphyxiation due to an unknown cause. And Riku used a knife to slice his own neck and died. She told him that no one could listen to him because he's already dead and has become a ghost. His family died 5 years ago, but Riku is still trapped in the house. She mentioned that because of the spirits on this land, he and his family became possessed. The spirit that came out of his wife's stomach, the spirit that his daughter saw, that is what possessed them. She said that because of her spiritual power, she knows that all these spirits are people who passed away from an epidemic. To build this residential area, they cleared the mountain here. But a long time ago, an epidemic infected the miserable village on this mountain. They searched for salvation under harsh conditions, and as a result, they offered people as a sacrifice to a non-existent god. By pure coincidence, one of the villagers was cured. Assuming that this god would save them if they kept sacrificing people, the villagers kept killing more people. But in the end, all the villagers died during the epidemic. Still, even after death, the villagers held on to their beliefs. That by offering sacrifices, they will all be revived. She was continuing the explanation when Riku stopped her, saying he doesn't care about those spirits, he just wants to save his family. The woman said that saving his family is impossible because they're already gone. Hearing that, Riku broke out, saying all they did was live a normal life and didn't do anything. At that moment, the woman mentioned that it is the problem. Even when his daughter complained about seeing ghosts, and even when she asked him to move, he didn't do anything and ignored their pleas. His situation now is a result of him doing nothing. Saying that, the woman told him that the fee will be 3 million. Riku heard that and shouted, saying he's already and doesn't have money to pay her. As the woman was about to leave, saying if he doesn't have money, he and his family should stay here and suffer for eternity. Immediately, Riku apologized and said that he would give her the credit card info, and begged her to save them. The woman agreed and they both went back to the house. Inside, Riku saw his family getting continuously eaten and suffering at the hands of ghosts. Because they're already dead, they can't die again and are continuously suffering the pain. Without wasting a moment, the woman used her powers and killed all the ghosts instantly. With the spirits dead, Riku and his family will finally be free from the suffering. While Riku was assuring his daughter that the painful things are gone now, the monster that was shown earlier appeared there. Riku didn't notice that the exorcist behind him had suddenly started bleeding. And the next moment, her body blew apart. When Riku looked back, he saw the monster with its big mouth and eyes, smiling and jumping happily. It then jumped toward Riku, blowing him to bits as well. Several days later, the body of an exorcist who died from an unnatural cause was discovered. The residence still exists today as a stigmatized property, searching for new tenants. The first one-shot ended here, let's move on to the second one. This one is called Dragonflies of Regret. It all began with a girl with blood on her face, calling for her mom. She fell to the ground, saying it hurts. The whole time, she was surrounded by many dragonflies. The scene shifts to the two people entering the village. The boy asked Reika about the job that brought them all the way to the countryside. Reika answered that it's a dragonfly extermination job. Hearing that, the man mentioned that the dragonfly extermination has nothing to do with being a psychic. Reika asked him to not worry as they're not exterminating some normal dragonflies. The man didn't question her further and just walked behind her, hoping to at least get proper pay this time. After a while, they arrived at a house that was completely surrounded with thousands of dragonflies. Because Reika hates bugs, the man, Yohei, will have to do everything. He wanted to refuse, but 10,000 yen per hour is too tempting. They both entered the house and introduced themselves. The woman living in the house is named Hasuka. Yohei asked her why she contacted psychics instead of contacting a real exterminator. Hasuka answered that an exterminator won't work because these bugs aren't normal. When he asked her to elaborate, Hasuka mentioned that they talk. About a month ago, she heard a voice coming from the toilet. She heard someone saying it hurts. When she nervously lifted the toilet lid, hundreds of dragonflies poured out. She quickly ran out and closed the door. Ever since that day, she started hearing voices from all over the house. And wherever the voice was coming from, there were always dragonflies. Hearing the story, Yohei whispered to Reika that this woman is totally nuts and they should turn down this job. But Reika immediately refused his suggestion. Right then, Hasuka presented 1 million yen as she promised them before calling them here. Yohei got super motivated after seeing the money and took the job. Yohei started alone, using a bug killer to kill the flies. While doing the work, he thought that he's doing the same thing as a normal exterminator. There were some crows sitting on the wires. Yohei looked at them and pointed out that this might be the best feeding ground for them. After some time, Yohei entered the house, saying he had finished the job. But Hasuka pointed out that they're still there. It turned out that the dragonflies were still flying outside the house. Yohei said that they have not gotten inside the house, and asked her why she's so scared. Hasuka answered that when she sees dragonflies, they remind her of her late daughter and it's painful. She said that after her daughter bled out, she fell to the ground and dragonflies swarmed her body. Remembering her, Hasuka started crying and walked away. As she left, Yohei picked up the spray and decided to do another round of extermination. At that moment, Reika, who was lying behind him, pointed out that the time Hasuka's daughter died and the dragonflies appeared was the same, a month ago. Reika assumed that the daughter died and returned as dragonfly. Yohei mentioned that it's really heartbreaking that Hasuka lost her beloved daughter. Suddenly, Reika questioned if Hasuka's daughter was really her beloved. Saying that, she pointed at the altar. Yohei was confused about what Reika wanted to say. He said that it's a proper altar, which is proof Hasuka loved her daughter. Right then, Reika walked toward the altar, saying there's not a single offering. Reaching near the altar, she touched it, which showed that it was covered with dust. If she had really cared about her daughter, she should have at least kept the altar clean. Hearing that, Yohei felt really sad and also asked Reika to help him. But Reika refused, saying it's too much pain and the spraying bugs wouldn't do anything long-term. She wasn't willing to help, but Yohei also can't leave this job because he needs money. His mother is in the hospital and a lot of money is needed for her operation. Even though the mom pretended to be found in front of Yohei, smiling and saying she wanted to go home quickly, Yohei knew that her condition wasn't good. He told her to not worry about him and told her that he has found a good part-time job and would be able to cover all the bills. He also visited the grave of his deceased dad. He mentioned in front of the grave that he lied to his mother about finding a good job to reassure her, so she doesn't get worried about him. He said out loud that if he only had money, everything would have been fine. At that moment, Reika appeared there. She said that if he wants money, he can work under her as her assistant. Yohei immediately refused, saying she's suspicious. But in the end, Yohei was still lured in by the money and ended up coming along here. There was something strange about Reika's aura, so he couldn't say no to her. At that moment, Yohei heard a loud shout. He went inside the house and saw Hasuka on the ground. She pointed toward the bathroom, unable to explain further. Yohei slowly opened the door and inside, he saw a lot of dragonflies flying around. He was really shocked, wondering when they got inside. Right then, Hasuka shouted again. Yohei asked her what happened now and she said that the dragonflies are just flying through the closed window. She immediately grabbed Yohei, asking him to get rid of these flies quickly. Yohei asked her to calm down, saying they're just normal dragonflies. As he said that, Reika entered the bathroom as well. She realized that Yohei couldn't see them and grabbed his hand. Immediately after she did that, the dragonflies' faces turned really creepy. Dragonflies with Hasuka's daughter's face were flying everywhere. They were also talking, asking her mother to open the door. Because Hasuka was grabbing Yohei, she was also able to see the true faces of these dragonflies. Right then, Yohei noticed something weird. He saw dragonflies slowly eating the crows. Suddenly, Hasuka started apologizing, saying to her daughter that she would never listen to her. Hasuka said that she knows she has been selfish, but she didn't mean to kill her own daughter. She grabbed Yohei, asking him to get rid of these flies. At that moment, Reika asked him to open the window. Hearing that, Yohei was confused, saying if he opened the window, the flies would enter the house. Reika told him that it's fine and also said that if he opened the window, the dragonflies would disappear. Listening to her, Yohei moved forward to open the window. Seeing that, Hasuka asked him to stop, but Yohei ignored her. As he opened the window, all the dragonflies poured in. Yohei immediately said to Reika that the dragonflies didn't disappear. Reika just said that it's enough and said that they should leave now. All the dragonflies gathered around Hasuka, slowly eating her. Seeing that, Yohei couldn't leave and ran to save her. Reika asked him to stop or he would be eaten as well. Seeing that Yohei isn't stopping, Reika pointed out that Hasuka killed her own daughter so he deserves to die. Yohei was still trying to help Hasuka when the hand of Hasuka, that Yohei was pulling, got severed. Without wasting more time, Reika grabbed Yohei and dragged him outside the house. Yohei was really angry, asking her why she did that to Hasuka. Reika answered that to exorcise a spirit, they have to erase its lingering regrets from this world. As they removed Hasuka's daughter's regret, the dragonflies will disappear as well. Hearing that, Yohei pointed out that she's a psychic, so she should have exorcised the spirit. Reika said that what she does is spirit guidance. Otherwise, the dead can't find peace. Spirits are often seen as evil, but the real evil lies with the humans who create them. At that moment, a single dragonfly appeared in front of them. It took the shape of Hasuka's daughter and said thanks to them before disappearing. Reika said that the client was desperately apologizing, but regret after someone's death is too late. While walking home, Reika checked her phone and said that another request just came in. Hearing that, Yohei mentioned that he never said he would keep working with her. Reika said that they wouldn't blindly exorcise the spirits, they would help them pass on peacefully. Suddenly, Reika said that she's doing this so she could pass on peacefully. She said that she doesn't know what lingering attachments are keeping her in this world, but she thought maybe she could find them by doing this spirit guidance work. Yohei was really shocked after hearing that and asked her what that meant. At that moment, Reika turned around and said, "I'm a ghost." As Yohei heard that, he didn't panic. He calmly mentioned that Hasuka kept asking him to do the work because she couldn't see Reika. Seeing him so calm, Reika asked him why he didn't get surprised. Yohei said that after seeing a dragonfly with a human face, her being a ghost wasn't that shocking to him. As Reika blushed, a question hit Yohei's mind. He asked her why he could see her despite her being a ghost. Reika stated that it's because she's possessing him. Then, she asked him if he would keep working with her. Yohei answered that if he gets paid, he certainly would. As Reika called him greedy, this one shot ended as well. Junji Ito's Snow White. A woman was sitting in front of the mirror, proud of her beauty. Standing beside her was a man who was also praising her. In the middle of the night, while the woman was sleeping in front of the mirror, it started talking, saying words like, beautiful, gorgeous, and lovely. It said to the woman that she's the most beautiful person it has ever seen. The mirror also called her the world's finest beauty. Like that, the mirror would sing praises for the queen's beauty daily. Reveling in the flattery, the queen became increasingly arrogant. Standing by the mirror and receiving compliments became a daily routine for the queen. Then, after a long time, the mirror said something she didn't expect. The mirror, who used to call her the finest beauty, called her the world's second beauty. The queen was shocked and asked the mirror to reveal the one who's most beautiful. The mirror revealed that the current top beauty is none other than her foster daughter. Hearing that, the queen remembered her husband had taken in a village girl. Thus, the queen ventured deep into the palace to inspect her foster daughter. This is Snow White. A maid arrived behind Snow White, calling her the most beautiful. The queen was standing outside, peeking inside the room. At that moment, the king also entered the room. He grabbed Snow White's hand, calling her the most beautiful. And just look at this panel, bro was trying to lay his stepdaughter. Seeing that, the queen immediately entered the room and banished Snow White to the dungeon. But the mirror continued to praise Snow White's beauty. Then, by the order of the queen, Snow White was brutally murdered. Hence, making her the most beautiful person again. However, just after a few days, the mirror again started calling Snow White the finest beauty. The queen was really shocked, saying that Snow White's supposed to be dead. Right then, a servant entered the room, telling something about the corpse in the dungeon. The queen immediately went down to visit the dungeon and witness what's going on by herself. As she peeked inside Snow White's cell, she saw that Snow White was standing. Her body was bleeding and some white orbs were continuously floating around her. The queen started sweating seeing at the scene and questioned how she revived. She wondered what those 7 little orbs were floating around her. The servant heard the question and shared that those orbs might be the spirits of 7 gnomes that used to live underground. They must be captivated by the sheer beauty of the deceased princess. The queen turned angry hearing that and asked the servants to kill Snow White again. They obeyed her orders and entered the cell, killing her. But the orbs didn't disappear and felt bad for Snow White. Soon, Snow White was revived again. Because of that, the mirror started praising Snow White again. It mentioned that even though she has returned from the dead, her beauty remained the same. So, the queen killed Snow White again. But this time, she made Snow White suffer an even more humiliating death. The queen scarred Snow White's face, hoping that this would make her ugly. However, the mirror still called Snow White the most beautiful one. The queen started going mad hearing everyone praising Snow White. The queen increased the intensity of Snow White's death each time. This time, she burned Snow White to death, making her feel immense pain. Finally, the floating orbs had enough of watching Snow White suffer and attack the queen. The queen danced within the flames and soon after perished. When the flames ceased, all that was left were the queen's ashes. Yet Snow White's beauty remained in the form of a charcoal statue. With that, this one shot ended. Next is the bookworm. The story begins with a woman working at a small library in the sticks. She mentioned how they got no customers today, again. They don't see many patrons. So, it's usual that the place is empty at this time of day. However, a certain someone always shows up right about this time. They refer to him as the bookworm. They never hear him come in, but before they know it, he's on the other side of the bookshelf. Looking at him, the guy, who also works in this library, said that this bookworm can't be mortal. This guy has been told that he's been showing up for a long time, probably at least 50 years or more. He just reads books all the time. They don't bother him since he's not bothering them. The woman just ignores him and thinks that this bookworm looks like he's in high school. She wonders what school that uniform is from. She looks at him carefully, noticing fair, slender fingertips turning the pages carefully. Rather than making her afraid, there was something about him that drew her to him. At that moment, the girl got up, thinking that she wanted to see what that person looked like. Surprisingly, when the girl turned the corner to look at the guy's face, he just disappeared, leaving the book behind. Right then, the man laughed, saying that he tried to look at that person's face many times, but every time he just disappeared. Saying that, he left the place and went to the office to use the computer. The girl's name is Naomi. When she went home, her mother was looking for a guy for her arranged marriage. But any man her mother shows her, she just didn't like. That night, when she went to sleep, she was holding the same book that the mysterious person was reading in the library. She says that she likes this book quite a lot and then goes to sleep. The next day, the mysterious person appeared and Naomi immediately stood up. But this time, she didn't try to look at his face, but tried to talk to him by standing behind the shelf. However, no matter what the girl said, the man didn't reply. At that moment, Naomi got an idea. She slowly took out books from the shelf one by one. Soon, the area was big enough to look at the man's face. And just look at this face. Naomi immediately jumped back after seeing him and shouted. Suddenly, the man moved his hand and grabbed Naomi's face, pulling her to the other side of the corner. Naomi thought that she used to have a pet hamster. The hamster had paper towels spread out on the bottom of the cage that it would flip like pages. She left the hamster alone, thinking it would get tired sooner or later. However, the hamster never stopped flipping them until it passed away. She figured it was just that sort of animal. The bookworm's pale fingertips once again continue to turn the pages of the book. Just like before, but this time, Naomi is the book. Her skin, muscle fibers, and her peritoneum, the man turned them like pages, even so carefully. Tai is what curiosity does to a person. Don't try to bother bookworms again, or this might happen to you people as well. Next is the human chair, one of Junji Ito's works. A woman entered a furniture store to buy something. A man welcomed her, asking her if she wanted to order something. The woman answered yes and asked him if he makes chairs. The man asked her to specify what kind of chair she wanted. The woman answered she wants a soft one that can ease back pains. The man heard her request and showed her a beautiful chair. He told her about the story that in the Taisho era, there was a chair which changed a person's destiny, and this chair played that major role in that story. Then, the guy asked her if she had ever heard of Tagawa Yoshiko. When the woman answered no, the man shared that Yoshiko used to be a renowned author in the Taisho era. She was the wife of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, a stunning woman of farm and fortune. She would receive an astounding amount of letters from anonymous fans every day. One day, she received an intriguing manuscript. There was no title and it was left anonymous. The script started with, "Madam," as if it was written to her. The details were very vivid, unbelievably well written. The story was about an ugly carpenter's burning passion. Hiding himself in chairs that he crafted. He immersed himself in an abnormal condition as he described his life there. The chair was initially part of an inn, but it was sold to an official after that. He fell for the officer's wife soon after. Because the manuscript was written similarly to that of a confession later, Yoshiko was horrified that the letter was seemingly dedicated to her. Another letter was received soon enough, informing that the manuscript was completely made up. Only after that, Yoshiko was able to relax. Yet that was only the beginning. The story that Yoshiko submitted received second place by the public. She asked the announcer who was the first one. He revealed that the first one went to a story called Human Chair. He was really impressed by the creative imagery of the human chair. They tried to contact the writer, but for some reason, the writer had sent the fake address, so they couldn't reach him. Because Yoshiko also received a letter from the man who wrote that Human Chair book, he asked her if she has some way of contact. Yoshiko quickly answered no, and soon, she was back home. She sat on her chair, unable to believe that a newcomer won first place. Suddenly, Yoshiko realized something. At night, when Yoshiko's husband was back, she asked him where he bought this armchair from. The man answered that he bought it from the Y marketplace during sales. Hearing the word sales, Yoshiko became worried but didn't say anything. That night, Yoshiko was still thinking about the chair because that chair was also brought up in the script. Right then, she heard voices coming from the outside of the room. She quickly woke up her husband, asking him to check who's there. He quickly picked up his katana and walked outside. Following the voice, he realized that it's coming from the study room. Yoshiko heard that, and remembering that the armchair is also in the study room, she wondered if someone was living inside that chair. And as they entered the living room, while the man was distracted, Yoshiko noticed a face in the armchair. She immediately shouted and pointed at the chair, saying it's moving. Hearing that, the man acted quickly and attacked the chair, but there was no movement. In the end, he concluded that there's no one inside this chair. A few days later, Yoshiko received a letter again. She checked the letter and immediately recognized the writing on one of them. This letter was from the author who wrote The Human Chair. She took out the letter and read it. It stated, "Madam, you haven't been sitting in your armchair lately. You don't even know how lonely I've been. Also, when you cruelly hit me a few days earlier, do you know how painful that was, madam? Your husband is too much. It isn't because of the beating, but rather, he is jealous of your career. I know, madam, I know that your job as a writer is even more important than your husband. Besides, this armchair is an essential item for your work. I know that when you allow yourself in my embrace, only my warmth and gentle hug is able to bring out the best in you and your work. Madam, your body can't live without mine, and my body can't live without yours either. I only hope to hasten the day when you and I become one." Reading the letter, Yoshiko was shocked and immediately tore it apart. A few hours later, Yoshiko's husband entered the house. Because Yoshiko didn't welcome him when he came home, he got angry at him and shouted at her, telling to write novels only when he's not home. Saying that, the man didn't stand there and walked to the study room. Yoshiko ran behind him, continuously apologizing to him. When she entered the living room, her husband was already sitting on the armchair. Yoshiko kept talking to him, but the man didn't answer. Suddenly, the man fell forward, his back bleeding. Yoshiko looked at the chair and saw a knife pointing out. Sometime later, the police arrived. Yoshiko immediately asked them to inspect the chair, and they did just that. They tore apart the chair's back and found just enough space for a man to settle in. This confirmed that a man was living here. In the end, Yoshiko disappeared without a trace. No one has seen or heard of her ever since. In the present, the woman pointed at the chair, asking the seller if it's the same chair from that story. The man answered no, sharing that that chair was detained by the police and its location is unknown. But this chair plays an important role in the story. Right then, the man picked up a tool and tore open the chair's back, revealing something disturbing. The back of the chair was the same as the one in the story, and there were two bodies inside as well. The man said that this is how Yoshiko and that man ended up. The man finally got her, and she achieved an everlasting happiness. After Yoshiko disappeared, she went to live with the man in this armchair, enjoying the rest of their lives. They had children in the future, and this chair was then passed down to other generations, greatly kept by their descendants. The man then revealed that he's their descendant. Suddenly, he asked her if she's a female author, Hayama Yuzuho. When the woman answered yes, the man revealed that he's a great fan of her work. He has heard that lately she's having troubles with her work. The man said that if he makes a chair for her, all of her problems will go away. Hearing that, the woman said no and ran away from the store in panic. At home, the woman researched Yoshiko, and she's indeed a real person who lived in the past. As she thought that she's really tired, two men entered her room with the chair. The woman immediately shouted seeing that, telling them that she never ordered any chair. Right then, the back of the chair swelled like someone was inside. With that, this story ended. The story begins with a guy desperately telling someone on the phone that his wife and kids were attacked by ghosts. He also added that he knows that what he's saying doesn't make any sense. The person who he was talking to answered that she believed in him. She said that she's an exorcist who's always dealing with ghosts. At that moment, the woman was standing in the house filled with ghosts. She raised her hand and just made a fist, and immediately, all the ghosts died. Then she said that whether she fails the job or completes it, she would take the full payment. The guy agreed, and the woman asked him to explain his story. He started, saying he's just an ordinary office worker. He has a wife, a son in middle school, and a daughter in elementary school. His wife was pregnant, and his family was growing well. So, they took this opportunity to move from an apartment into a bigger house. The house they moved into was on a mountain they had cleared to build a new residential area. They decided to move there since it was close to their old apartment. Around that time, strange things started happening. And first to go crazy was his daughter. Riku saw his daughter with a dark face and asked her what happened. Minami pointed at the ceiling, saying there's a man. She said that there's a man watching them. Riku looked at where she was pointing, but there was nothing there. The only thing Riku could do at that moment was comforting his scared daughter. After a few days passed, Riku's son started crashing out, saying Minami's going crazy. She keeps saying there's a woman on her ceiling. As Riku's daughter's comments kept getting worse, they took her to a children's support center to see a psychiatrist and get some advice. They were told to just observe the situation as there's nothing they can do for now. That night, Riku's wife suggested that they should move houses, but Riku disagreed. Riku just said that they should wait and see for some days. After that, they brought a charm for protection and went to a famous shrine to pray and ward off evil spirits. Still nothing changed with Minami. She was always scared, saying things like a lot of hands are on the ceiling and much more. Riku was really worried about Minami, but because he was so busy with his pregnant wife and work, he neglected her. Then one night his wife started bleeding, so he had no choice but to take her to the hospital. Riku asked his son, Ryosuke, to take care of Minami while he decided to go to the hospital with his wife. Ryosuke said that he doesn't want to stay alone with Minami because she creeped him out by saying strange things. But Riku had no choice but to leave Minami behind with Ryosuke. He asked Ryosuke to try his hardest for once. In the end, Ryosuke had no choice but to listen to his father. When the time of sleep came, Ryosuke asked Minami to go to the second floor and sleep. But Minami was scared, saying hands would grab her. Hearing that, Ryosuke shouted at her, telling her there's no one in her room and angrily asked her to go to her room. After climbing the stairs halfway, Minami kept crying, asking her brother to not leave her alone. But Ryosuke didn't listen and left her alone. At that moment, when he reached the floor, he heard something. Right then, something came down rolling from the second floor. And oh boy, it is Minami's severed head. Even though Minami should not be able to speak for obvious reasons, she moved her mouth and said to Ryosuke, "You liar, you said no one was there." Seeing the scene, Ryosuke was terrified and cried out loudly. He clinged to others to call the police as he didn't have a phone. Riku received a call from the police, while his wife was suffering through a stillbirth, that his daughter had died. Only Ryosuke knew what really happened. Neither the police nor the doctors could tell the reason for Minami's death. During the investigations, the police were attacked multiple times by unexpected accidents, so the case remained unsolved. Riku and his family weren't allowed to go in that house, so they went back to their old apartment. Even though the remaining family was alive, Ryosuke went mad. He randomly started crying, clenching his head, saying Minami was angry. When Riku tried to tell him that Minami isn't with them anymore, Ryosuke didn't agree and called him a liar. Ryosuke said that he didn't stay with Minami, that's why she wanted him dead. At night, Riku's wife cried, saying they should have moved out of that house sooner. She is now sure that there was something in the house. When Riku told her that there's nothing like ghosts, Ryosuke appeared in their room with a dark expression, which scared both of them. Ryosuke said that mom's right, there was a ghost in that house. Suddenly, Ryosuke fell to their bed, crying and saying that after Minami became a ghost, she stayed by his side. She keeps saying, "I'm coming back to our place." What Ryosuke said was hard to believe for Riku, but then a few days later, his wife was suddenly pregnant. The wife desperately said that never slept with anyone other than him, and Riku believed her. They were really afraid and quickly went to the hospital. The doctor told them that there are no signs of an ongoing pregnancy. He said that it's called a phantom pregnancy. She believes that she's pregnant, but isn't. Hearing that, she started crying, saying she felt a kick in her stomach. She asked the doctor to open her and remove what's inside. They went to multiple hospitals and all gave the same answer. Then Ryosuke came to their room and told them that Minami is the one inside her stomach. She said that she would come back, and now she's coming back. Riku tried to stop him, but Ryosuke kept saying the same thing, like Minami is coming back and this and that. At that moment, the mother shouted. The blood splattered on the bed and something came out of her stomach. It is a really creepy-looking monster. Ryosuke, who was holding a knife, called the monster Minami and asked it to not come closer. Right then, the monster jumped at Ryosuke and killed him with just one hug. Then, the monster looked toward Riku, ready to attack him. Seeing that, Riku lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he was sitting in the living room of that house where Minami died. And as he thought that everything might just be a nightmare, he heard shouts. The house was infested with ghosts who were tearing his family like toys. The inside of the house started to look completely like what Minami had described. Hands on the ceiling, women and men watching them down. Riku was so scared that he ran out of the house without realizing it. But the thing is, Riku kept running, but no matter how much he ran, he never left the bounds of that house. He also called police and hospitals, but no one could hear his voice. In the end, when he called this exorcist woman, she could hear him. While Riku was still talking to her on the phone, she was already standing in front of him. She apologized for being late and mentioned that she was busy with another job. The woman said that his story sounded similar to unnatural death incidents that she has looked into before. She then decided to explain to him his current situation. She said that it happened 5 years ago. In the apartment Riku and his family lived in, the unnatural death incidents. His wife died from something tearing through her stomach, and his son died from asphyxiation due to an unknown cause. And Riku used a knife to slice his own neck and died. She told him that no one could listen to him because he's already dead and has become a ghost. His family died 5 years ago, but Riku is still trapped in the house. She mentioned that because of the spirits on this land, he and his family became possessed. The spirit that came out of his wife's stomach, the spirit that his daughter saw, that is what possessed them. She said that because of her spiritual power, she knows that all these spirits are people who passed away from an epidemic. To build this residential area, they cleared the mountain here. But a long time ago, an epidemic infected the miserable village on this mountain. They searched for salvation under harsh conditions, and as a result, they offered people as a sacrifice to a non-existent god. By pure coincidence, one of the villagers was cured. Assuming that this god would save them if they kept sacrificing people, the villagers kept killing more people. But in the end, all the villagers died during the epidemic. Still, even after death, the villagers held on to their beliefs. That by offering sacrifices, they will all be revived. She was continuing the explanation when Riku stopped her, saying he doesn't care about those spirits, he just wants to save his family. The woman said that saving his family is impossible because they're already gone. Hearing that, Riku broke out, saying all they did was live a normal life and didn't do anything. At that moment, the woman mentioned that it is the problem. Even when his daughter complained about seeing ghosts, and even when she asked him to move, he didn't do anything and ignored their pleas. His situation now is a result of him doing nothing. Saying that, the woman told him that the fee will be 3 million. Riku heard that and shouted, saying he's already and doesn't have money to pay her. As the woman was about to leave, saying if he doesn't have money, he and his family should stay here and suffer for eternity. Immediately, Riku apologized and said that he would give her the credit card info, and begged her to save them. The woman agreed and they both went back to the house. Inside, Riku saw his family getting continuously eaten and suffering at the hands of ghosts. Because they're already dead, they can't die again and are continuously suffering the pain. Without wasting a moment, the woman used her powers and killed all the ghosts instantly. With the spirits dead, Riku and his family will finally be free from the suffering. While Riku was assuring his daughter that the painful things are gone now, the monster that was shown earlier appeared there. Riku didn't notice that the exorcist behind him had suddenly started bleeding. And the next moment, her body blew apart. When Riku looked back, he saw the monster with its big mouth and eyes, smiling and jumping happily. It then jumped toward Riku, blowing him to bits as well. Several days later, the body of an exorcist who died from an unnatural cause was discovered. The residence still exists today as a stigmatized property, searching for new tenants. The story begins at a school where a student has just transferred. This student is named Azuri, and after introducing himself to the class, he did something unexpected. He suddenly bowed and apologized. The class started laughing at him, asking him why he was apologizing. Sometime later, Azuri was walking in the hallway and bumped into someone. Without wasting a second, he apologized to the student. For some reason, a girl was following him the whole time. In the classroom, while he was helping in cleaning, he broke a vase and apologized immediately. He even went to the staff room, admitted his mistake, and apologized to the teacher. In the next scene, some students have surrounded Azuri in the washroom. One of them asked Azuri to apologize, and he did that without saying a word. But the bullies didn't feel the sincerity in a normal apology and asked to sit on his knees and then apologize. Azuri had no choice but to listen to them. They even put their feet on his head while he was apologizing on the ground. Soon when he left the toilet, the same girl who was following him before saw him. She immediately went near him and asked him what happened. She asked him if Sanda's gang bullied him. Azuri didn't say a word and the girl didn't even ask further. She offered him a handkerchief to wipe his face. Azuri accepted it and instead of thanking her, he said sorry to her. The girl was fed up hearing his sorries and asked him why he always says sorry. Azuri didn't explain anything. He apologized to the girl, Keiko, again, and just left. On the way home that day, Keiko noticed a suspicious little girl following her. At first, Keiko walked normally. But soon she started running. After a while, when she stopped, the creepy girl was standing in front of her. Keiko immediately changed her route and ran as fast as she could. But still, the creepy girl somehow arrived in front of her. Keiko was really scared and asked the girl what she wanted. The girl let out a creepy laugh and asked Keiko to give her brains to her. The creepy girl had a really big tongue and her hair was standing. She asks Keiko to let her have her brain. Keiko freaked out and ran backward without looking. At that moment, a truck arrived without a warning and crashed into her. In the next scene, Keiko was in the hospital with bandages. The doctor told her parents that she's really lucky for only having minor injuries. They said that Keiko would be discharged in just a week. The parents were really happy and thanked the doctor multiple times. At night, Keiko finally opened her eyes with a sweaty face. Her parents were sitting beside her and mentioned that Keiko kept moaning when she was asleep. Her father then asked her about how she ended up in the middle of the road. Keiko answered, saying that a creepy girl kept chasing her. At that moment, Azuri arrived there. Realizing that Azuri is Keiko's friend, her parents thanked him for coming to visit her. Suddenly, Keiko bowed and said that this time he's really sorry. Azuri said that even if he apologized for hours, it wouldn't be enough. The father was confused and asked him what he was talking about. Azuri then revealed something shocking. It turned out that the creepy girl who caused Keiko's accident was Azuri's sister. The father was really angry after hearing that and asked Azuri to come to the hallway with him and explain himself properly. Keiko was also sweating and shaking a lot, unable to believe that the creepy girl she saw is Azuri's sister. After that, Keiko learned from her mom that Azuri apologized profusely. He sincerely begged her furious dad to not make a police report. He even went on his knees to apologize. When the dad asked Azuri to let him meet his parents, Azuri shared that his parents were already deceased. His little sister was his only family. From then on, Azuri visited Keiko daily and apologized to her parents daily as well. During that period of time, Keiko felt his apologies had a soothing effect on her. She almost felt like her heart was melting. A week later, Keiko was fine again and was walking to the school together with Azuri. Even now, Azuri apologized. Hearing that, Keiko told her that he shouldn't apologize anymore, it wasn't even his own fault. Azuri heard and looked ahead, saying it was his fault. He shared that his sister, Kazumi, used to be an innocent and well-behaved child. However, after some period of time, she changed completely and her personality became distorted. Azuri blamed himself for that. He said that his parents had been strict on him since young. He grew up under a harsh canning method. To release the pent-up stress, he often took it out on small animals like insects, frogs, and even snakes. Azuri assumed that what happened to Kazumi is a karma for killing little animals. Some time passed again and a rumor began spreading around the city. At the corner of the street, there would be a creepy girl who chased after females and children. Then one day, Keiko saw Azuri apologizing to some family. The man refused to accept his apology and said that he would call the police. Seeing that, Keiko came running and sat on her knees, apologizing as well. Because of two people apologizing, the family let Azuri go. While walking together, Azuri apologized to Keiko again and again. Keiko smiled, asking him to not apologize. Suddenly, she made up mind to go to Azuri's house. She said that she wanted to be friends with Kazumi. But Azuri refused, saying she doesn't know how evil Kazumi is. With that, Azuri ran off. However, Keiko didn't stop and decided to find Azuri's house herself. Soon, she was able to find his house and headed there. She rang the doorbell and knocked on the door multiple times, but no one answered. When she tried to open it herself, she realized that the door was not locked. She slowly entered the house, calling Kazumi. For some reason, the house was filled with an odd stench. While she was looking around, Kazumi appeared behind her and scared her. Keiko shouted and fell to the ground because of that. She slowly built up courage and said to Kazumi that she wants to be her friend. Kazumi brings out her long tongue upon hearing that and says that if she wants to be friends with her, she has to offer her brain. Keiko tried to talk to her, asking if she doesn't care about his brother's feelings who's always apologizing to people because of her. Chizuru heard that and said that her brother's euphoric. Keiko was really confused and asked her what she meant. She explained that her brother would never apologize to his own sister. He thrives from apologizing to others. He will be ecstatic if he keeps apologizing. She said that her brother's a bizarre person. He enjoys killing little animals. Keiko already knew this and mentioned that he used to kill animals because of stress. Kazumi laughed at the statement and revealed that her brother was killing the animals for the preparation of a ritual. In a nearby forest, by offering sacrifices to the demon, he managed to summon the demon. Then, Azuri successfully made his wish. And that night, Azuri kept chanting an apology ever since he returned. His hands are always clasped together as he looks up. In the end, this kind of apology elicited the most blissful feeling, always begging the demon for forgiveness. Keiko immediately refused to believe her story, asking her why she was making groundless accusations about her own brother. At that moment, Kazumi opened a wall drawer, revealing two heads. Kazumi said that one was her mummy and one was daddy. Because their brains liquefied and leaked out, their heads were empty. Seeing that, Keiko didn't wait a second and ran away shouting. That night, when Keiko sat with his family for dinner, she saw that her parents had caught the flu. Like their noses were constantly leaking. Even though her mother called her for dinner, the plates were empty. Keiko asked if they were going to eat air today. The mother immediately got up to prepare the food. But now Keiko's hunger has died down. She headed back to her room, saying she wouldn't eat anything today. At school, a disturbing thing happened. The whole class, even the teacher, had caught the flu. All of their noses were constantly leaking, even Keiko's. The only person who was fine was Azuri. During the break, Sanda's gang was bullying Azuri, asking him to sit on his knees and apologize. And as he apologized, the boy's eyes, nose, and face all started leaking. This scene was really disgusting. Just look at these boys leaking from their whole face. Soon they fell to the ground, most likely dead. At that moment, Kazumi entered the classroom. She crawled near one of the boys and said that his brain had dissolved. Keiko was also standing there the whole time. Kazumi looked at her and asked her if she believed her now. Kazumi said that her brother's apologies are able to dissolve a person's brain. She asked Keiko that her brains should have been dissolving as well. Hearing all that, Azuri shouted, apologizing to Keiko for Kazumi's behavior. Azuri said that their parents died in an accident when Kazumi was still a toddler. They died because their brains had spilled out. It was then that the toddler Kazumi started sucking on their brain matter. Despite Keiko asking him to stop, Azuri apologized again and again. In the end, Keiko ran away to the staff room to ask the teachers for help. But when she entered the room, she saw that all the teachers were already dead. At that moment, Azuri caught up to her and started apologizing. Keiko didn't waste a second and started running away. Suddenly, she tripped on a dead boy on the ground and fell down. As she looked back at Azuri, she felt like a demon was coming to eat her. Fortunately, Keiko was able to survive and was receiving intense care from the hospital. Her brain was dissolving, but the paramedics did their best to save her. Eventually, Keiko learned that her parents passed on. But she felt nothing. She assumed that it was because her brain was damaged. The locations of Azuri and his sister were unknown, but she knew that this incident would repeat again. Chapter 2, Dissolving Beauty. A girl was sitting in a cafe, thinking that she got in contact with her middle school friend after 2 years. Maiko wanted to introduce her boyfriend to her. Soon, Maiko arrived at the scene and greeted Nao. Nao looked back with a smile, which quickly turned into a confused expression. Looking at the woman's face, Nao asked her who she was. The woman answered angrily that she's Maiko. Nao was really shocked and remembered the Maiko she saw last time, who was really beautiful, unlike the woman in front of her now. Maiko then introduced her boyfriend, and oh boy! Her boyfriend is Azuri. Nao ignored him and again asked her if she was really Maiko. Maiko shouted, asking Nao if she had changed. Nao didn't say anything but thought in her mind that the voice of Maiko and the position of the mole is the same as well. At that moment, Maiko turned to Azuri and asked him if she had changed. Azuri answered with no, saying she's the most beautiful person. He said that he would even get on his knees to worship her beauty. Maiko was really happy hearing that and they both sat down. Nao was still shocked, wondering how Maiko changed so drastically. Maiko then shared that Azuri transferred to her high school last year. They both fell in love with each other at first sight. She mentioned that Azuri praised her beauty daily, which made her feel happy, but also uneasy. She said that she feels like something has changed when she compares herself with her old photos. But hearing praises from Azuri, she decided to trust him that she's still the same. Suddenly, Maiko got up and left for a moment to fix her makeup. As she left, Nao asked Azuri about when Maiko became like this. Nao mentioned how stunning Maiko used to be when she was in middle school. However, Azuri just answered that Maiko was still the same. Nao just smiled after hearing that and said that Maiko is really lucky to have a boyfriend like him. At that moment, Azuri called Nao one of the most beautiful girl he has ever seen. And with that, Azuri broke up with Maiko and got together with Nao. Maiko was devastated because of that and started stalking them. For breaking her heart, Azuri continuously apologized to Maiko. Soon, Maiko disappeared and rumors started circulating that she committed suicide. Anyway, Nao and Azuri didn't stop dating. Every time they met, Azuri showered her with praises, which always made her really shy and happy. Soon, Nao started questioning if she was really as beautiful as Azuri was calling her. One day while they were walking together, Nao mentioned that she feels like her complexion has worsened recently. Azuri heard that and looked at her face, calling her skin flawless, saying there's no one like her in this world. And look at her face. It took her just a few days from being a stunning beauty to being like Maiko. One day at home, Nao's parents were really worried and asked her to visit the hospital. When Nao asked them the reason, they asked her to look at her face. Look at this, her life is literally destroyed now, there's no going back. Sitting in her room, Nao was comparing her current self to her previous self. Even after seeing such a clear difference, Nao just smiled, saying Azuri would never lie to her. With this face, when she walked outside, people became scared of her, calling her things like a monster and pig. Soon, Kizumi arrived in front of her as well, calling her a witch. Kizumi revealed that she's Azuri's sister and asked her if she's been worshipping her brother. Before Nao could say anything, Kizumi started revealing everything. She said the same things like how her brother worships a demon and this whole time, he has been apologizing and flattering the demon as offerings. Plus, the demon and Azuri have formed a sinister telepathy. Anybody who stands between them has either their brains dissolved or their faces crumbled. And Nao's face has decayed quite a bit because of that. Nao immediately refused to believe that and called it a lie. Right then, Azuri appeared and asked Kizumi to stop spouting nonsense. He asked Kizumi to go back home right away and started apologizing to Nao. Suddenly, Nao asked him to tell truthfully if she's beautiful or not. Azuri looked at her eyes and answered that she's the most beautiful woman on earth. As Azuri kept praising her, Nao's face decayed more and more. In reality, Azuri was praising the demon he was seeing behind Nao. Azuri shouted, saying he'll worship her beauty forever. Soon, Azuri and Kizumi vanished from the town. But Nao never forgot his word, believing that she's the most beautiful in the world. Wow! He completely destroyed her life and left. Chapter 3, Dissolving Apartment. Two people knocked on someone's door, saying they are new neighbors who just moved into 202. A girl opened and was shocked to see both of their faces, they looked like zombies. They say that they are Yuma and gave a small gift to the girl before leaving. The thing is, Azuri's full name is Azuri Yuma, so I guess he's here. The girl headed back inside and opened the gift, finding matchas inside. She took one bite and said that the taste is really strange. Soon she started shouting in pain, clenching her stomach. She concluded that this was happening because of the matcha she ate. At that moment, she heard voices coming from the upper room, which is 202. Someone was shouting, apologizing continuously. A person called someone imbecile, asking them if this is how they should treat their parents. This continues for a while, with continuous sorries mixed in. The next day, the girl named Kahora knocked on door beside her room. She told the old lady who came out that her name is Kahora, who lives at Unit 102. Kahora asked the old lady if someone from Unit 202 came to her unit. The lady answered that someone came and gave her matcha. She had non-stop diarrhea after eating them. Right then, another man walked downstairs. This person is Asashiyama from room 201. He angrily added that the noise last night must be kids getting abused. Asashiyama said that they should go to them and talk. Others agreed and they arrived in front of Unit 202. Soon, Kizumi opened the door. Seeing the bandages on her face, the old lady was really sad. Kahora asked her if her parents home. Kizumi answered with a smile that her parents died when she was an infant. All of them were really shocked after hearing that. They didn't believe her, thinking she has been through a lot, that's why she's saying stuff like this. So, they asked her again when her parents would come back. Kizumi answered rudely, asking them to go to hell if they wanted to meet them. Asashiyama was about to get angry but Kohara stepped in and asked the girl if she had a brother. Kizumi answered that she has a rotten brother named Azuri. Kohara heard that and said to Kizumi that she can come find them whenever she needed anything. Kizumi smiled and said alright, calling Kohara an old hag. They didn't talk further and returned to their units. Soon, while Kohara was watching TV, a head appeared outside her window. Kohara was really scared and shouted loudly. Suddenly, the head started talking, saying it's Kizumi's mommy. Kohara heard that and went outside to check what's going on. She saw that the Kizumi was standing near the rail, holding the head with a string tied up to its hairs. As Kohara asked her what she was doing, Kizumi pulled her head back up and said, "Nice to meet you, old hag." Before Kohara could say anything, Kazumi headed back in. That night, when Kohara was watching TV, someone knocked on her door. Before opening the door, she asked who it was. The person answered that he's Azuri from Unit 202, and he's here to apologize. Kohara opened the door and saw Azuri, who was beaten up. Azuri immediately bowed, apologizing to Kohara on behalf of Kazumi. Kohara asked him to lift up his head, but Azuri didn't. She asked him if his parents were abusing her. Azuri answered no and quickly left. Right then, the old lady from next door also came out, telling Kohara that Azuri apologized to her as well. She couldn't believe that the boy was so polite. Soon they started hearing the voices again. Someone was cursing Azuri, calling him a despicable and vile child. Azuri continuously apologized, apologizing to his parents. When the voices grew louder, the people of all other 3 units came out and knocked on Unit 202. This time, a zombie-like couple opened the door, asking them what's the matter. Asashiyama was the first to talk, stating that their children are crying beyond normal. He also pointed out how their children's faces are covered with bandages all the time. The man answered by asking them to stop interfering with the way they discipline their kids. Hearing that, Kohara said that she was really concerned and asked the man to show the 2 children. But the man refused and headed back inside without saying more. The next day, Kohara and the old lady were talking about Unit 202, feeling sad for the 2 kids living there. At that moment, when they looked upward, they saw Kazumi sitting near the fence with her face covered with band-aids. Seeing her, they felt really sad and invited her for cake. Kazumi accepted the invitation and headed to their unit. Seeing the cake, Kazumi dug in, eating like an animal. The old lady and Kohara assumed that she was eating like this because she was starving. At that moment, the old lady said to Kazumi that her band-aids look old. She asks her to wait, she would go and get new ones for her. Right then, Kazumi gave the final lick to the plate and suddenly took off the band-aids. She said that her face isn't hurt at all, she was pasting the band-aids just for fun. Seeing that, the old lady was shocked. Kohara asked Kazumi if only her brother was getting abused. Kazumi chuckled and said that her brother's a masochist. As she said that, voices started coming from Unit 202. Again, Azuri was getting beaten by his so-called parents. Asashiyama from Unit 201 couldn't hold on and went to talk to them. He had just knocked twice when the couple pushed open the door. Asashiyama was pushed back because of that and angrily asked them if they wanted to fight. Suddenly, the couple said something strange. They asked Asashiyama if he wanted them to go to hell. He was really confused and asked them what they were saying. At that moment, both of their faces started leaking. Before Asashiyama could think of anything, Azuri barged out. He grabbed his leg, aggressively apologizing to him. Asashiyama was really scared and pushed him away. But Azuri jumped back to him, continuously apologizing. Asashiyama couldn't understand what to do and started beating Azuri. With him, the zombie-like couple also started beating him, like they were bullying him. Finally, the old lady and Kohara arrived there, stopping them and saving Azuri. When they questioned Asashiyama, he didn't say a word and ran back to his room. The so-called parents also went back inside, while Azuri was still on the ground. Behind them, Kazumi was just watching while smiling. In the next scene, Azuri was in the old lady's unit. She was giving first aid to Azuri, while suggesting that Azuri and Kazumi should just stay at her place. But Azuri refused, saying he can't stay with her because he loves her parents. With that, he left the place after saying thanks and also apologizing to them. That night, the same thing happened. Azuri was getting beaten, while the other unit people were getting worried. While Kohara was cursing Azuri's parents, a drop of liquid fell on her face. When she looked up, she saw that ceiling was leaking. This was the old lady's unit. On top of her unit, Asashiyama lives. She wondered if the water leaked out from Asashiyama unit. But when Kohara smelled the liquid, she immediately realized that it's not water. At that moment, Kazumi, who was still there, left. She said that the mustache uncle has finally been dissolved, and it's all her brother's fault. Kohara and the old lady were confused. So they went up to Unit 201 and knocked on it, but no one opened. As they were worried, Azuri's painful cries started coming from Unit 202. This time, Kohara didn't knock on the door. They simply barged into the unit to see what was going on. They saw the zombie-like couple had pinned down Azuri. But the weird part was that both of them were continuously dissolving. The lady took a knife to finish Azuri. But before she could slash him, she and her husband dissolved completely. The old lady and Kohara were really shocked and fell backward. Kazumi just laughed and said that there's a demon behind her brother. No one ever had a good end after associating with him. At that moment, Kohara and the old lady were also dissolving, forming a pool of disgusting liquid. With that, Azuri apologized once more and they decided to move to somewhere else. It all began on a hot summer morning. A man suddenly woke up, realizing that he was late for work. He quickly wore his suit and ran to work. But on his way, he encountered a very creepy woman. He looked at the girl and commented that she was creepy. The man was really scared after seeing her and didn't know how to walk past her. As he didn't have spare time, he walked slowly with shaking legs, trying to ignore her. But at that moment, the woman said, "Ju." The man was really scared after hearing that and quickly stepped forward. He wondered what Ju meant and assumed that she was referring to gun. Ju sounds the same as the Japanese word for gun. The next day, when man was going to work, the woman was still standing at the same place. This time the woman said, "Q," as Q means 9 and Ju could mean 10. The man realized that she was counting down. That night, the man called his friend, telling him about the girl and how she was counting down. His friend called it a really creepy prank. But he also pointed out that if she was a girl, she might be in love with him. What if when the countdown hits 0, she proposes to him or something, said friend. The man asked his friend to not say things like these and get serious. Then, his friend said that if it's just a girl, he should just run away. The next day, the creepy woman was standing at the same place. And as the man passed her, the woman said 8. This confirmed that the woman had started a countdown. But suddenly, the woman said 7. Before the man could turn around, the woman quickly counted down to 0. At that moment, the man's mouth and eyes started bleeding. In the next scene, the man woke up at his bed, shouting in panic. He realized that it was a dream and this time decided to go to work from a different route. Even though it was a longer route than the previous one, it's better than running into that woman. As he thought that, he heard 8. Realizing that the woman was standing behind him, the man was really scared and wondered why she was here. This time, the man showed courage and questioned the woman about why she was following him and doing this stupid countdown. He was still shouting at her when the woman said, 6. Hearing that, the man lost it and grabbed her hand. In return, the woman grabbed his hand as well, which startled him. He accidentally pushed her back, causing her to hit the metal railing. While the man was really worried, the woman stood up, saying number 5. She was bleeding from the side, but she didn't care about that. The man didn't waste a moment and ran away, thinking that woman isn't even a human. He ran as far as he could and reached the train station. He decided to go somewhere far away where that woman wouldn't follow her. The man called his mom saying that he would be coming back to her tonight and entered the train. Looking around, he spotted a figure with long hair just like that woman. As the figure got closer, the man's heart started beating faster and he became really scared. But he looked at the figure's face. It was just a man with long hair and quite similar face to that woman. He was really relieved and looked at the scenery outside. At that moment, he spotted the woman again. Her neck was bent because of the fall earlier, but she didn't care. She continued her countdown, saying the number 4. The man was really scared and quickly looked inside the train. At night, he finally reached his village and while he was walking toward his mother's house, the woman was waiting for him under the light pole. Ignoring her, the man quickly ran toward the house. As he passed her, the man said, 3. Hearing that, when the man looked back, the woman wasn't there anymore. At home, his mother welcomed him with a smile. Suddenly, he heard some voices coming from outside. It turned out that the woman was here, trying to open the door. The man's mother was about to go and check who it was, but the man stopped her. After a while, the woman left the door. His mom wondered what was that just now, but the man didn't answer and headed to his room. While he was sitting in his bed, wondering about that woman, she appeared at his window and said, 2. Saying that, the woman smiled. The man quickly hid the window and said that he would get killed like this. He said that he should do something about that woman. Hiding in his bed, the man kept thinking about that woman. He gritted his teeth, saying he would kill that woman before she could kill him. The whole time, the woman was stuck to his window, banging it continuously. The next day, the first thing the man did was take out his dad's truck. He rode that truck toward the woman who was standing in the short tunnel. Seeing her, the man's eye became red and he was completely determined to kill her. As the truck crashed into the woman, she said, 1. The woman fell to the ground with her eyes and mouth bleeding, barely clinging to her life. The man was really relieved and rode away the truck, thinking he would be free now. He loaded the woman in the truck and brought her to his garage. Putting her near the wall, he pierced her again and again with a knife to make sure she's dead. That night, covered with blood, man peacefully smoked a cigarette, thinking there's no way to know what would have happened when that countdown had hit 0. But the thing is, he doesn't want to find out what would have happened. At that moment, 2 bloody arms fell in front of him. Seeing them, he realized that these are that woman's arm. The thing is, the man put that woman in his storeroom. There was a really narrow gap on the roof of the store, but that wasn't enough for a person to pass through. Her shoulder would get stuck if she tried to get out of here if somehow she stayed alive. Now, the woman had cut her own arms in order to get out of there. And while falling down, the woman said, 0. With that, the man's cigarette fell to the ground and he disappeared somewhere from the balcony. Story 1, Evil Eye. A boy and his uncle reached their villa. It was the summer vacation of his 14th year, so his uncle brought him here. His uncle is an engineer and often travels abroad for work and knows a lot of interesting stories. He had admired him since he was little. He was so excited about the trip with his uncle that he kept talking in the car, at dinner, and afterward. Just as dawn was breaking and he was thinking that he should probably get some sleep, his uncle suddenly said, "Don't ever go into the mountain behind the house." He said that even the locals rarely go in there. Apparently, the owner of a nearby villa once hung himself in the back mountain. At this time, the boy thought that no one would ever go to a place like that. The next day, around noon, his uncle was still asleep, exhausted from staying up late. Suddenly, he became interested in the telescope that was in his room. He was just looking around the scenery until he saw something on the mountain. The strange figure was holding a stick as well. The boy thought that it's just some weirdo and decided to see something else. But he wasn't able to take his eyes off of that thing. At that moment, the monster looked straight into the boy's eye. The monster had only one eye and it looked really creepy. As the boy kept staring at the monster, water suddenly started pouring out of his eyes and mouth. His eyeballs turned strange as he fell to the ground, clenching his neck tightly. His uncle woke up immediately and shouted, asking him to let go of his neck. The boy was finally able to let go and stood up. He wondered why he was crying this much. 2 figures, most likely his dead mother and father, appeared in his head. They blamed him for something, saying that if he just kept his eyes on him. They said that he should be the one dead, not him. The boy heard that and started shouting loudly, blaming himself. His uncle immediately ran to him, asking him to calm down and tell what happened. When the boy pointed at the telescope, his uncle immediately ran to it and checked himself. He also saw that strange monster and threw up. The uncle called that monster Evil Eye. Suddenly, his uncle asked him if he could pee. The boy was really confused, asking him what he meant. His uncle asked him to bring 2 plastic bottles, and one should contain his pee. The boy wanted to ask the reason, but his uncle asked him to do it quickly. In the next scene, they were walking in the mountains. While walking, the boy asked his uncle what that thing was. His uncle also didn't know. But he knew one thing, that thing is slowly making its way toward them. The uncle said that they had to confront that thing themselves. He also warned the boy to not look at that thing's eye. After it'll appear in front of them, they will throw pee at it. If that doesn't work, they will show it their family jewels. The reason they have to do that is because that evil eye despises impure things like excrements or genitals. The boy was really shocked and was about to ask his uncle how he knew all this stuff, when they suddenly fell unconscious. After some time, the boy was the first to wake up. His uncle was still asleep beside him, so he immediately went up to him and jolted him awake. At that moment, the evil eye appeared in the dark. His uncle asked him to only light up its feet. And as the boy did that, they were shocked to see the evil eye crawling on the ground. Seeing its eye, both uncle and the nephew fell to the ground. The boy's condition was really bad. He started crying non-stop, clenching his head. Soon, his condition was so bad that he decided to kill himself to end it all. He took out his tongue and bit it. But before he could apply the force, a figure shouted, calling him Big Brother and asking him to wake up. The boy listened to the voice and was able to survive. At that moment, the uncle took a sip of the pee and spit it all on the evil eye. Then, the uncle took off his pants and showed his long pendulum to the monster. Seeing the thing, the monster turned around and ran away. After that, the uncle decided to tell his nephew about the evil eye. It's part of folklore, where malice is used to glare at someone and place a curse on them, and depending on its power, it can even bring about death. While the uncle was staying in a certain town in Northern Europe, a local friend introduced him to someone in an alleyway. The man who was there was someone who possessed the evil eye. Perhaps sensing his skepticism, the man said that he would let him experience a fraction of the power. The old man just looked at the uncle's eyes for a moment to show evil eye's powers. The moment the uncle looked, he felt like he's dying. Due to conflicts with the organization he belonged to, The old man was ultimately killed, soaked in excrement. The uncle didn't know if the thing they saw was a monster or what. He just felt like running away wouldn't be enough and decided to risk his life to end it. Hearing that, the boy decided to share something. He said that at that time, when he lost his sanity, he heard his brother's voice. Since that accident when he was 10, he has always thought if only he had forced himself to follow him back then, things would have been different. The boy mentioned that after he saw that evil eye and understood everything, only unpleasant images kept surfacing. Only his little brother's voice reached him. The uncle heard that and said, "Yeah, maybe that's how it is." With that, story 1 ended.
Story number 1, Monkey Dream. A girl was standing at a railway station and looked around, wondering where she was. She quickly realized that this is a dream. Ever since she was a kid, sometimes when she is dreaming, she is aware that she is in a dream. They call it a lucid dream. Right then, an announcement happened that the train will arrive shortly. After a moment, the train arrived and just look at this. It was like a kid's roller coaster. The monkey was the driver and there were some passengers as well. The girl decided to get in as well, thinking that if it got too scary, she would just wake up. Finding an empty seat, she sat down. With that, the train started moving again. The girl was excited to find out what would happen. As the train entered a tunnel, some strange ghosts started forming around the girl. Looking at the scene, the girl remembered that this is just like the thrill ride she rode as a child at the amusement park. The girl didn't get scared, thinking that these are just images. At that moment, an announcement happened. Next up, ikizukuri. Ikizukuri is a dish where fish or any soup food is served while still alive. Suddenly, the girl heard a loud shout and looked back. She saw some mini goblins cutting a man while he is still conscious. The man kept shouting in pain, asking for help, but the goblins did not stop. In the end, this was how the man was left. He was cut in multiple pieces, his intestines were out, and his mouth was still open in shock. The scene was really disturbing. The girl was really scared but decided to stick around for some more time. As she thought that, another announcement happened. Next stop is going out. The girl quickly looked back and saw the same mini goblins pulling out a woman's eyes. After they pulled out her eyes, she fell down with a thud and the monkey clapped happily. The girl turned even more scared because if they kept going, she would be next. She still decided to not wake up, wanting to hear what kind of announcement they will make for her. Finally, an announcement happened. Next up is Mist Maid. The girl heard that and immediately started chanting in her mind, wanting to wake up. But even after concentrating for a moment, she did not wake up, which was supposed to happen. The monkey looked at her with cold eyes, signaling the goblins to act. Without wasting a second, a goblin appeared in front of her and attacked her. Luckily, she was able to wake up at the last moment. She was sweating a lot, relieved that she is safe. After that, she drank some water, thinking that it felt so real. If she had actually been minced, what would have happened then? The girl quickly decided to forget about it and moved on. At school, she talked to her friends and they told her that usually if a monkey appeared in your dream, it just means that someone's talking behind your back. The girl heard that and realized that no one would take her seriously if she talked about dreams. 4 years passed after that and she had already forgotten all about that dream. But today, when she went to sleep, the same dream continued. It started right from the moment when goblins pulled out that woman's eyes. The girl immediately remembered what's going on and started concentrating to wake up. While she was doing that, goblins were already in front of her about to end her. However, she was able to wake up again. She thanked God that she managed to escape. Suddenly, someone's voice asked her if she is going to run away again. The voice told her that the next time is going to be her last. The girl was really scared and looked around the house but could not find anyone. Since then, she has not had that dream ever again. But the next time she sees it, it will probably be the last time. She will most likely die of heart attack in the real world, but in other world, she would be mistreated. With that, the story was ended. Also guys, this is my first time using my real voice in the video. Until now, I was using AI words and today I have decided to try using my own voice. So yeah, suggest more improvements in the comment section.
Story 3. The Big Head-O. A man was riding his car, thinking that when he traveled alone, he went to a village with a small inn. The warm hospitality left an impression on him, and for some reason, he suddenly wanted to go back. Soon, he saw a signboard saying Big Head-O. He was really confused reading it because he's sure it was used to tell how many kilometers more to go to reach the village. When he read the sign, he wondered what "O" meant. He thought about it for a while and then just decided to move on. After some riding, he reached an abandoned village. He was still sitting in his car when he saw something strange in the grass. When that thing stood up, he was shocked and scared. The figure had a human body, but the face was really distorted. Immediately after, more similar figures started appearing. They all had the same human body, but distorted faces. They suddenly started running toward the car in a strange way. Bro, why are these things running like titans? The man was really scared and quickly tried to start the car. And as the car turned on, the monsters were already in front of him, trying to destroy his car. I thought that these things are really small, but they're actually as huge as a car. The man didn't waste a second and sped off. After reaching his house, he checked the location of the village on the map and realized that he reached the correct place. Later, he told a friend about everything that happened. They ended up talking about the sign, what the O in Big Head O could mean. As expected, they speculated that it might be an arrow pointing up to the right, and the conversation got lively. Suddenly, his friend suggested that they should go and check again. But the man immediately refused, never wanting to set foot at that place ever again. Story 4, Rinphone. A girl and a boy were standing in front of an antique shop. The girl immediately entered, thinking there might be some hidden gems here. The boy followed her behind and she chose this weird thing. They both looked at it carefully, but they don't remember seeing anything like this. She said that they should buy it if it's cheap. So the boy asked the shop owner about the price. But as their eyes met, the boy flinched. The old man didn't tell the price, but instead started explaining what that thing was. He said that it's a type of toy called Rinphone. The instruction manual goes into more detail, but as an explanation, bear to hawk and then to fish. It can transform into various animals like these. First, hold the Rinphone with both hands. Ribbit and rotate it gently, like you're shaping a rice ball. The girl did just and Rinphone moved like a puzzle. After hearing all that, the boy asked the price again. The old man told them that the price is 10,000 yen. The girl heard that and started bargaining, asking him to go a little lower. In the end, they bought it for 6,500 yen. When the boy, named you, was at work, the girl called him. She was still playing with the puzzle and told you that it's really fun. She had made something like a bear with it. You praised her after seeing that. The next day, when they were sitting together, the girl said that she stayed up all night messing with the Rinphone yesterday and finally completed the bear. You was really impressed after seeing it and asked her to teach him how it works. At that moment, there was a panel showing 3 eyes in the dark. The next day, while you was at work and called the girl, she was playing with the puzzle. She is addicted to it, saying that it's so much fun and she has just finished the hawk. The hawk was really realistic. Right then, there was also a panel showing multiple eyes this time. The next day, the girl called you, asking him if he called her. You answered no and asked her why she asked that. The girl answered that for the past 5 minutes, she's been getting calls every 30 seconds or so. And when she answers, she just hears something like the bustling noise of a crowded street, and what sounds like a crowd of voices talking. But it cuts off right away. When she checked the caller ID, it said it's from Canada. Canada can mean 2 things, distant or the other side. You assumed that it might be some kind of glitch and then asked her how Rinphone's going. She said that she's almost done with the fish. The next day, you went to her house because she told him that she had another weird call. While she was eating lunch during her break, her phone started ringing. This time, it was just a normal no-caller ID, so she answered. And when she pressed the button, some voices continuously shouted, "Let me out." The girl said that she heard the voices of a large group of men and women, and after that, it cut off. You was scared a little but in the end, assumed that it's just a prank. At night, when they were sleeping, you had a dream. He was trying his best to climb a mountain, while there were many more people behind, doing the same thing. Suddenly, someone grabbed his leg from behind. When he looked back, he saw a woman, asking him to take her with him. Immediately after that, you woke up. He didn't say anything to the girl and the next day started. They went to the phone staff to ask about these weird calls, and they also just said that it might be a prank. So, they decided to go to the fortune teller next. In the next scene, they knocked on the door of a fortune teller. There was a cat there as well that kept hissing on them. When the fortune teller opened the door, she immediately asked them to leave. The reason for that is this cat can distinguish between good and bad in humans. The cat is very sensitive to those kinds of things. This is the first time she saw this cat react like this. Right then, the fortune teller shared that she can see something like an object behind the girl. She asked them to get rid of it. You asked her what that object was. She told them that it's a condensed miniature-sized hell. It's the gate of hell. Hearing that, you asked her to tell the fee. But for some reason, she angrily refused and asked them to leave. That day, they went back to the girl's house. They immediately wrapped the Rinphone and the instruction manual in the newspaper. They bound it tightly with the duct tape and threw it away at the garbage collection point. Eventually, the garbage was collected and since then, nothing strange has happened. Some days later, the girl noticed that if you rearrange the spelling of Rinphone, it spells inferno, meaning hell. At the same time, a boy noticed something on the ground. He picked up the object, saying that it looks interesting. With that, the story ended and now let's move on to the next one. Story number 5. Pandora. A girl was clinging to another girl's legs, asking her why she didn't stop her. She's her friend, so she should have stopped her. I don't know who they're talking about, but let's see what'll happen. Then the scene shifts to a long-faced girl who was looking at something. At that moment, a man walked in, telling her that the photo she's holding is the material for the next cursed object feature article. Hearing that, the girl asked him if he knew anything about this photo. The guy answered that there are similar rumors in the local area, it seems to be a haunted dressing table or something, and he wanted to write an article about it. The guy asked her if she could go and interview the person who submitted this photo. Before Hayakawa could answer, the man also added that this photo might have some connection to her hometown. As she heard that, she said one word, Mina, and the scene shifted to the past. A group of students arrived in front of an old ragged house and broke its window. The house didn't have any doors, that's why they broke the window to enter. Hayakawa was also with them. Kinkasaki Pandora, this haunted house on the outskirts of town is called that. As if to reject anyone who comes here, there's no entrance in this house. For a long time, there were only rumors about this abandoned house. The adults had an over-the-top reaction of this place. While exploring the house with the others, Hayakawa discovered a staircase to the second floor and walked upstairs. As she asked if someone's there, someone touched her from behind. She freaked out and immediately looked back. Fortunately, the one who touched her was just one of the students. Currently, a girl named Mina is also with them. Hayakawa asked her if it's okay to bring her little sister along. Mina answered by saying that her sister will never take no for an answer. With that, they started exploring again. Hayakawa thought that the adults' reaction to this abandoned house was so extreme, it was frightening. At the same time, it also piqued the interest of this group of students living in a dull countryside. Hayakawa walked up to the two boys who were just sitting there, asking them why they weren't exploring. They answered that surprisingly, there's nothing here. With that, they decided to move on to the second floor and see what they would find there. At that moment, they heard a loud shout. Following the voice, they appeared in front of a small room. While shaking, they opened the door and saw human hair sitting there. They wondered if they're real hair. One guy suggested that they should just walk in and check. But no one showed courage to check it and just walked away. In the next scene, they all were sitting together, rubbing themselves. Hayakawa suggested that they should go home, when she realized that someone's missing. The one who's missing was a girl named Shizu. They all were really worried, thinking that Shizu might have gone to the second floor. With no other choice, they all headed to the second floor together to find Shizu. After searching the whole floor, there was only one room left. When they opened the door, they saw human hair there, similar to what they saw earlier. At the same time, Shizu was holding a piece of paper with the word, Kinkasaki, written on it in some other room. Mina was also with her, and she immediately snatched the paper from Shizu. But as she did that, something happened to her. As Mina fell to the ground, Shizu started shouting, calling Mina's name. Hearing the loud noises, others were able to find them. When they entered, the first thing that they saw was Shizu's horrified face. After that, they saw Mina, who was eating her own hair, looking really creepy. What really happened to Mina that day? What came after that, Hayakawa didn't even know. She doesn't even have the right to ask nor the chance to atone. In the present, Hayakawa felt really guilty, wondering what she saw back then. As a form of atonement, at the very least, for Hayakawa to keep living, she decided to search for the clues. This story didn't end here, we'll continue it in the next part, subscribe for more. This person is Hideshir Hino. He draws horror manga for a living. Today, he's going to show us his private collection. This room is where he had all his best ideas. Today, he'll tell us how he got hold of this human eyeball. Part 1 of collection, My Picked Eyeball. A girl was driving her car at night while singing. Suddenly, her expressions turned horrified when she saw someone in the dark. She immediately hit brake and was relieved she didn't hit anything. At that moment, a girl with no eyes, blood dripping from her eye sockets and mouths, appeared behind her. Without saying anything, the little girl put her hands inside the driver's eyes and plucked them out. She tried to put those eyes in her empty eye sockets, but when she did that she couldn't see anything. For that reason, the little girl didn't have any use for these eyes and threw them away. At that moment, 2 men appeared on the scene and questioned if this was the 7th victim. A guy mentioned that all of the victims were drivers and all had their eyes torn out. He assumed that this is the work of a psychopath. Right then, a question hit his mind and he asked why they never found the eyeballs of the victims. They assumed that the killer always took them away. Hiding behind the tree was a Hino. He picked up the eyeball from the ground and secured it inside a container. Hino told us how he found the eyeball. Now he's going to tell why the spirit of the little girl went after that poor driver woman. A long time ago, a girl died in a car accident. Strangely, her eyes were never found. Without her eyes, she could never find nirvana, so now she's lost in the darkness. She wandered around at the same spot, asking for eyes. And so, the beautiful eyeball came into Hino's collection. And now, Hino will show us the next piece from his humble collection. He picked up a mirror and said that this would be the story of a mirror and the girl that found it. Part 2 of the collection, Magical Mirror. From an early age, the girl had no friends. And even worse, a band of bullies always make her life miserable. The girl saw a beautiful flower and sniffed them to get their smell. At that moment, she heard someone calling her ugly and looked back. Her bullies were standing behind her, calling her by many bad names. As she tried to run away, her foot slipped and she fell on dog poop. Seeing that, the bullies made even more fun of her, asking her to get away from the flowers. At her house, the girl's room was filled with many animals. These animals were her only friends. Her room housed a small zoo, which she loved more than anything else in the world. While she was enjoying her time with the animals, someone opened her room door. These are the girl's parents. They also don't support their daughter and always scold her for having so many animals. Her parents and even her little sister called her gross and closed the door with a bang. Even after getting into high school, the boys wouldn't stop bullying her. The poor girl grew more and more depressed. One day while going home, she found something shiny in the trash. She picked up the mirror, wondering who could throw out this beautiful mirror. Seeing no one around, she ran home with the mirror. In her room, because she couldn't see anything in the mirror, she started to clean it. At that moment, her mother and little sister entered, angrily asking her what she was doing. The little sister called her dumb cow, saying looking at herself in the mirror wouldn't make her prettier. Saying some more bad stuff, they left the room. The girl felt so bad that she started crying, saying to the mirror that she hates her family and those who always bully her. She said that she just wanted them to disappear. In the next scene, the girl woke up somewhere else. She was in the middle of a forest, filled with many cute animals. These are all the animals that she actually had in her room. As she started playing with them, she heard some noises. When she looked down, she saw her parents and bullies. They were as small as an insect. The girl got angry at them, asking them what they were doing here. Right then, a tortoise jumped forward, eating one of them. Then, the bird flew toward another one, and started eating him slowly. The hamster also took the chance and grabbed on the bullies, slowly chewing on him. The scene is so disgusting that I might not be able to show it on YouTube. Next up, some shrimp slowly tore apart the little sister. Seeing the scene, the dad and the mom jumped into the water, thinking they would be safe there. But inside the water, they got eaten by fishes. After all of them died, the girl returned to her room. Before she could think that it was all a dream, she saw a hamster eating something in its cage. It turned out that it was eating one of the bullies. Other cages were the same. Shrimps were eating her sister, the bird and the tortoise were eating two of the bullies. And the father and the mother got eaten by fishes. Telling the story, Hino brought a girl into his room. The same girl who found the mirror but had no clue it was magical, that would fulfill her every wish. Her parents left her a lot of money, all of which she inherited and then married Hino. Hino and the girl were in the same class, and just like her, Hino was bullied. All they had was each other, and soon their friendship grew into love, and they went on to get married. Once, she let Hino use the mirror, and he killed his entire family, and got a nice inheritance as well. So now he finally had freedom to draw the kind of manga he likes. And with that, Hino decided to show his next piece of collection. Before starting the next story, Hino asked us if we were still feeling comfortable. If the answer's yes, he said that this one is his favorite piece and will surely make us feel something. He picked up a piece of skin with a spider's tattoo on it and said that is his father's skin. Part 3 of the collection, The Spider's Web. Hino's father was a pig breeder. One day, a person named Toku told Hino's father, Hidizo, that he needed pig guts. Hidizo said that one of his pigs has a broken leg. He said that he would slaughter that one for him and give guts to him. After slaughtering a pig, he took out the guts and gave them to Toku. He happily took them and headed his way on his bicycle, saying thanks to Hidizo. Then Hidizo slowly butchered the already dead pig, like separating meat and other things that butchers usually do. Hino always watched his father and found his work truly fascinating. Hino was enraptured by the strangeness and brutality of it. And that's how his collection began to take shape. Dad gave him a pig's eye, a tooth, a tail, and a piece of intestine. He preserved them in the alcohol, and studied them carefully. But it wasn't enough. Hino started to go to the river, where all matter of things would drift ashore. Dead dogs and cats, it was a real treasure vault for Hino. He picked up anything he found and stored them. Slowly, his collection grew, until there was an explosion at one of the factories. Some of the debris landed in their garden. Among them were a charred hand and a foot. Hino quickly added them to his collection. A few weeks later, a train crashed not far from their house. More than 100 people died. At night, under the cover of darkness, he went out for new pieces. He hid all of the sports in a wardrobe. Soon, just collecting the treasure wasn't enough. He began to draw them as well. While drawing, he even used to sing some creepy songs. One day, he woke up from his sleep when he heard his father scream. He saw a monstrous spider grabbing his dad, which sent shivers down his spine. As he slowly opened the door, he saw the spider. Hino was so scared that he almost wet his pants. But when he looked closer, the spider was no more there, and he only saw a tattoo on his father's back. Hidizo quickly calmed down and went back to sleep. But Hino kept staring, captivated by the spider tattoo. Whenever he set a glance at the tattoo, he was captured by it, as if lured by a demon. He wished for nothing but to have that spider in his collection. It was around this time that he grew to be friends with the woman who found the mirror and also became his wife. Soon after they met, those nasty bullies and their families vanished without a trace. The girl told Hino that the mirror can make any wish come true. Hino held the mirror with shocked expressions, and when he looked at it, he saw his dad in the mirror. His dad was cleaning up the mess after slaughtering the pig. Right then, his foot slipped and he fell backward, hitting his head on the concrete and spitting blood. Without wasting a moment, Hino ran back home and saw what he saw in the mirror. As he stood in front of his dead father, he heard a voice of devil from inside, telling him to take the skin and the spider will finally be his. Hino didn't hesitate and pluck out the skin where the spider tattoo was. After that, Hino took the knife and did what his father used to do with the pigs. Then he threw the piece in the pig farm and erased all the evidence. Hino held the tattooed skin in his hand and said that now his father lives on as a showpiece of his collection. With that, this story ended. He said that if we thought that was scary, he has many more in store. Hino showed a container and said that this is his most prized possession, a decayed little fetus. This fetus is in fact his very own flesh and blood brother. Part 4 of the collection, The Rotten Fetus. The dark silhouettes of countless smokestacks rise like colossal beasts, looming ominously in the skyline. The sky, choked with the toxic breath from these monsters, hangs heavy in the air like a dying canvas of despair. Neon-hued diarrhea spills from the monsters in a grotesque spectacle of color and horror. Rainbow-colored, stench-ridden gutters flow with all sorts of trash and animal carcasses. And in this hellish landscape, Hino grew up. His father was running a pig farm behind their house back then. His mother was not a normal person. Hiding in the house, she was singing a creepy song while holding a pig's head like her baby. At that moment, the factory near the house opened and the voices of machinery entered Hino's mother's head, disturbing her. Right then, she spotted Hino peeping at her and called him a demon child. She fell to the ground, shaking, asking him to stay away. One day when Hino was drawing manga in his room, his mother entered holding a rope, calling him a demon child who's lurking about. His mother hung him upside down with the rope and beat her with a long bamboo stick. She also poked him with an injection again and again, making holes in his hand. Then she would also burn him a little, calling him a demon child. The reason Hino's mother became this way is because of a reason. When Hino was born, he was holding a lump of blood in his left hand. And in his right hand he was crushing the frail body of his twin brother. From that moment on, his mother was never a normal person again. Since then his mother has hated him with every fiber of her being. After his mother was done beating him, Hino would call her a demon, saying she would go straight to hell. His dad was always too busy with his pig farm to care about anything. And for Hino, the only place he could find peace was inside the sewer. It was his very own secret refuge. The darkness and stillness within the sewer felt so achingly familiar to him. One day as he watched the trash flow by, he was struck with a wonderful idea. He set up everything perfectly. First, he snuck into his mother's room and grabbed her cherished pig's head. Then, this mother chased after him with a face twisted like a demon from the depths of hell. The sewer hole was open, and Hino jumped over it. But because the mother didn't notice that, she fell into the sewer, hitting her head on the concrete. After that, Hino also went down and pushed her in the sewer. And just like that, his mother became trash in the sewer. Every day since then he would go into the sewer and draw the ghastly transformation of his mother's decay. It was pure joy and inspiration for him. This very experience is what led him to create his weird manga. He could only ponder on how invaluable it had been. One day, he set out as usual to sketch her lifeless form. As he reached her, he was shocked. At first, it looked like this mother's corpse was stirring to life. But when he got closer, he saw hundreds of rats taking bites of her. He used a stick to scare the rats away. At that moment, he saw a hand coming out of his mother's stomach. When he dragged the hand out, a whole baby came out. Hino hugged the baby and apologized to it. He brought his little brother home and gave his decayed body a bath. He gave him the name Jiro and sealed him in a jar, preserved in alcohol's embrace. From that day on, Jiro was always by his side. He showed him the world, taking him wherever he went. He would secretly tuck Jiro into his backpack and bring him along. And when no one was looking, he would show him breathtaking sights. One day when Hino woke up, a miracle happened. In the jar, Jiro opened his eyes and started moving. He even called Hino his big brother. Hino was really happy to see Jiro alive and hugged the jar. Since then, Jiro has remained in his state of decay, living inside his jar. With that, part 4 of the collection ended as well. Next time, Hino has decided to show us an even more magnificent part of his collection. Hino showed us a lump of human flesh suspended from the ceiling. He said that the person this lump belonged to is none other than his grandfather, Hinakichi. Part 5 of the collection, the lump. Hino's grandfather always had a lump somewhere on his body. He always poked and played with those lumps, finding them oddly satisfying. The lump would inevitably grow larger, filling with pus. His grandfather called him, unable to bear the pain any longer. Hino would always bring a warm damp towel to soothe the lump, then he'd slice it open to drain the pus out. During the process, his grandpa would feel pain and good at the same time. Afterwards, he dumped the pus into the ditch behind the house. One day, Hino asked his grandpa why he had a lump on his head. His grandpa answered that he used to be a member of the Yakuza. Hinakichi said that he was a gambler and has even taken people's lives. He's been swimming in bad water since he was just a little kid and now his body is a toxic waste dump, forming a lump. Hino thought that one day, from that very lump, something strange would awaken. As he sliced open the lump, something strange came out. It wiggled around and rushed outside the house. There, it got eaten by a dog. But the next morning, their family dog Gon was dead, his belly born open. Hino was sure that it was done by that thing that crawled out Grandpa's lump. The thing had left a sinister trail of blood that led to the ditch behind the house. Hino told us that there's a spine-chilling tale about that thing that's gonna unfold shortly. But he decided to save that one for another time and continue with the story of his grandfather's lumpy little adventure. Before he started cutting the lump, Hino asked his grandpa what would happen if something came out again. This time, the grandpa was holding a katana and said that if something came out, he would slice it himself. As the lump was cut, a hand came out, which immediately grabbed Grandpa's neck. Without wasting a moment, Hinakichi used the katana and cut out the hand. Before the hand could run away, he pinned it down using his katana. Seeing the hand, Hinakichi immediately recognized it, calling it the hand of Komori Yasu. Long ago, Komori was caught by Hinakichi cheating at the gambling den. As a punishment, Komori's hand was cut by Hinakichi. The next day, disturbingly, the lump grew really big on Hinakichi's back. Sweating a lot, he asked Hino to cut it quickly. But before Hino could move, someone pierced the lump from inside. Seeing the tattoo on the snake on the person's back, Hino called him Orochimaru. The person flew out holding a sharp knife, saying this time he would take Hinakichi's life. But before he could attack, Hinakichi pierced the guy with his katana. With the severe injury, the person fell to the ground, mentioning that this is the second time Hinakichi killed him. Before losing his life, he said to Hinakichi that he would see him soon in hell. And then one day, the lump on Grandpa's stomach grew really big. It suddenly got pierced and a lot of strange beings came out of it. They were attached to Hinakichi, shouting random things. After enduring agonizing pain, Hino's grandpa breathed his last breath. The grotesque mass of flesh that had emerged from his belly continued to writhe menacingly. At that moment, Hino saw a small lump on his dead grandpa's head. He decided to cut that lump and store it as a memento of his grandfather. Since then, Hino has cherished it as one of his prized possessions. Hanging the lump like this, it gathers all sorts of bizarre treasure inside. And for what kind of treasure it makes, Hino said that it's a secret. I only covered 5 chapters in this video and there are still 26 chapters left. Subscribe for the next part and suggest more in the comments section. Next, Hino decided to show a magnificent specimen, a chicken's head. Somehow, This taxidermed chicken head is his grandma. Part 5 of the collection, The Chicken Head. Hino's grandma used to spend most of her days wrapped up in the warmth of a nest that she had painstakingly made in the middle of her room. In the nest, countless eggs were laid that she lovingly kept warmed. The eggs were stolen from the chicken farm his grandfather took care of. The time Grandpa noticed a chicken not laying eggs and just eating food, he would drag that chicken to Hino's father to butcher it. The grandma would sometimes come to Hino's room to show him an egg, saying she laid it herself. As Hino held the egg thinking this was stolen from the farm, his grandpa arrived there. He started scolding the old lady for stealing the eggs. But the old grandma just said that these are her own eggs. Suddenly, the grandpa smiled and told Hino to go back to her room and also he could keep the egg that he was holding. Hino said yes and entered his room. And as he entered, Grandpa grabbed Granny to teach her a lesson. Hino stood near the door, seeing everything. The grandpa tried to beat some senses into the granny, but it didn't work. So, he took away all the eggs from her nest. She wandered around the nest for days and cried a lot with her voice echoing through the house. Eventually, she ventured outside, desperately searching for something. Then one day, she excitedly came outside Hino's room and announced to him that she laid a real egg. Hino went to her room to check and saw something horrifying in her nest. There was the head of a dead person sitting in the nest while Granny was dancing happily. Hino looked at the head and thought that it was something he wanted for his collection just the day before the tragic suicide had occurred on the train tracks beside their house. He searched everywhere for the head but found it nowhere. Now he has finally found inside his own house. The granny saw Hino staring at the head and asked him if he wanted this egg. Before he could answer, Granny sat on the head, saying she will never give this to him. Hino was really sad because he wanted that severed head to his collection, but his grandma's defenses were impenetrable. Bro doesn't know that his grandpa penetrated her defenses thoroughly, that is why he was born. Anyway, one day, a day came when grandma's defenses were weak. Because of the head, a lot of worms gathered in the room, scaring the granny. Hino came to her room and told the granny that her egg was rotten. The granny agreed and kicked it away immediately. With that, Hino got to collect the head. Hino said that his grandma wanted to lay eggs desperately, and from then on, his grandma's behavior spiraled into bizarre. She started eating insects from the ground like chickens. She didn't care if the insect was as little as an ant, or as big as a snake, she gulped everything down her throat. Every night, she would sneak out of the house. She'd run down to the filthy ditch, littered with the bodies of dogs and cats, and devour the rotting remains of any rats. Then one fateful day, Grandma's body began to change. She started growing fur like chickens. Soon, her whole body transformed into that of a chicken. Grandma stayed in her room for months, until an eerie aura enveloped Grandma's room. Hino opened the door to check what was going on and was shocked to see the scene in front of him. He saw a gigantic hen standing in the middle of the room. This chicken is his grandma, who has finally laid an egg as well. The egg was giant as well. Hino touched the egg and realized that something was moving inside. Because the granny was making loud noises in her chicken form, the grandma couldn't hold and arrived at her room. When he saw a gigantic chicken, he didn't waste a second before bringing his katana into the room. Before Hino could explain to him, Grandpa severed the head of the giant chicken. After Granny died, Hino picked up the chicken's head and told Grandpa he just killed Granny. But Grandpa didn't believe him, saying he's just talking nonsense, and left the room. The time passed and then one day, the egg hatched. In the present, Hino said that to this day, no one believes him that this hen was his grandma. Part 6 of the collection, Baby Frankenstein. The dreadful being birthed from the egg is known as Baby Frankenstein. This is the being that came out of the egg. It was an adorable baby for Hino. He carefully took it outside, making sure no one else got their hands on it. He walked in the sewer and made a little bed for the baby there, saying he would raise him himself. Hino brought him milk daily, making sure he's full. Frankenstein's growth was really fast. Seeing that, Hino thought that Frankenstein hatched from an egg and that's why he's growing this fast. One day, he brought him to house, showing him his grotesque collection. Frankenstein smiled seeing the collection. Hino looked at the glimmer in Frankenstein's eyes and felt an undeniable connection between each other. And so, his days of happiness with Frankenstein began. They played games together like torturing a cat and many more. At such a young age, he even started swimming. Soon, they were hiding near a railway, waiting for the train to come. And as the train arrived, they threw a little puppy in front of it. As the body splattered, Frankenstein licked the blood on the railway. One day, they caught a dog and cooked it on high heat like a pig. Hino did that because this dog was always barking at him. While eating the meat, Hino wondered what face the owner of this dog would make after realizing that it was gone. Soon, Hino started sneaking Frankenstein into his room. Lying on a bed together, Hino said that he doesn't have any friends. Frankenstein was really sad after hearing that. Right then, Hino smiled, saying to him that he's his first ever real friend. Then, they both slept peacefully, just to wake up the next day and do the same old disturbing things. They caught a chicken from Hino's grandpa's farm and tore apart its head. Hino wrote down some things observing the scene and said that he would become the master of strange manga in the future. At that moment, 3 boys arrived there and snatched the book from Hino's hand. Hino tried to tell him that it's really important to him, but he didn't listen. While Hino was distracted, the 2 other boys noticed strangeness in Frankenstein. They realized that he doesn't have a belly button and his body is also strange. The boys realized that Frankenstein isn't a human and decided to reveal the news. Hino heard that and realized that he's in danger. He said that they would have to get rid of them to keep Frankenstein hidden. Frankenstein heard that and quickly went to work. He thoroughly beat the 3 boys and then threw them in a water tank, letting them drown. And so, the bond between Hino and Frankenstein grew stronger. One day, they were sitting on a railway track. Hino pulled out a big nail from the rack to make a knife out of it. At that moment, they heard train coming toward them. Hino immediately asked Frankenstein to rush out of the tracks and ran behind him himself. But he just got up when he fell and his foot got injured. Seeing that, Frankenstein ran back and helped Hino escape the tracks. However, Frankenstein couldn't make it and got crushed under the train. Hino was really shocked and sad seeing his precious friend in so many pieces. In the present, Frankenstein is still alive because he's immortal. To this day, Frankenstein is his one and only best friend.